Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is June 7th, 2023. I am so pleased and so excited to be doing the beginning of the next semester of Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. This is always a wonderful feeling, and when I look back on all of my notes and all of my recorded whiteboards, it's been literally 10 years that I've been doing this, and sometimes 3 semesters per year. So, wow, what a lot of wonderful teaching and what a wonderful group of students that I've taught for so many years and so many returning students. So welcome, returning students. Welcome back. And welcome to the class, new students. I'm so incredibly happy and excited to be here. And to me, this is, not only do I feel like swimming in very comfortable water, like, yeah, like this is what I do. I swim around and I teach about this stuff. Every time I teach, it's a little bit different. It's always contextualized as to what is going on in the present level of planetary ascension, which is what I'm always going to point to this painting over my shoulder over here. So yeah, I won't be repetitive and I'll always be sharing things that are important and relevant. So that's why welcome back to anyone who is long-term student. And this is a one-room schoolhouse where we really appreciate those who are already very familiar with these concepts and have a facility in comprehending them and articulating about them and having their own insights. Welcome, One Room Schoolhouse. Longer term students, please help and encourage newcomers and beginners in as they're just starting to wrap their minds around these new concepts and open up to them. And so what is today? We are at level 1, lesson 1, and this is basically about the shape of the chakras. What are chakras? And the shape of time. This is some of the most basic foundation stuff that remains relevant. Like when you are a musician and you learn, and I actually have my proper sound settings. Thank you so much to the person that clued me in as to how to fix my Zoom sound settings. You can actually hear these in the background. When you're a musician and you learn, it's going to sound like a flute. You learn C. Let's turn it up a little. Turn it up. G, A, B, C. Good. When you learn the basic notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, that's like foundation knowledge of being a musician. But that remains relevant throughout your whole entire career as a musician. You don't throw that out the window, be like, oh, like that's what I learned my first lesson, now on to greater things. It remains relevant throughout everything that you experience. It is exactly the same with the information that I'm going to give to you today. And if you're already quite familiar with these concepts and you're already an expert musician and on the journey of becoming a virtuoso of your own DNA and playing with the cosmic band, sorry, that's a loud notification that just popped in over here. If you're already on the journey to like jamming Jimi Hendrix style with the Cosmic Symphony, it's always beautiful to revisit these basic concepts because you know something, it's just like watching a favorite movie or a favorite TV show or a favorite book, reading through it again. There's always things that you come to from a new perspective. It's familiar territory, but you come to it from a new perspective, and there's always new insights, new nutrients, and new relevance to be gained from doing that. So just going to pull up my notes, and I actually have figured out a way now to have my notes on my screen so that I'm not constantly looking like I'm looking off screen, so that I'm not it's maybe not quite as distracting. So yeah, beginning with the sense of this is the shape of a chakra. Chakra is a word that is maybe quite familiar to people at this point, that is used a lot in the world of new age, spiritual enlightenment, spiritual attainment seekers. Often it is depicted as you see the human anthropomorphic form. Anthropomorphic means literally man-shaped, and anthropo and morphic, anthropoman, morphic shape. It means the one head, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, 2 arms, 2 legs, that shape that humans identify as quote unquote person. That you have the human anthropomorphic shape, and then often the chakras are depicted as glowing balls of light that begin. I will jump up more than once per class. I always joke about this, but I'm listening to my body, and my body is like, I don't like to sit for so many hours straight, so I'm actually going to jump up more. But the anthropomorphic form with the glowing balls of energy beginning at the root chakra, which is at the pelvis, the orange, which is below your navel, yellow, which is above your navel, green, which is at the level of your heart, light blue, which is at the level of your neck, dark blue or indigo, which is at the level of your forehead over here, and then violet, which is at the level of the top of your head. That is shown to be like the human octave. And when I say octave, octave is a music term for, I'll also turn on my piano so you can maybe hear it a little bit more easily. An octave is C to C. So octo means 8. It is 8 notes, even though, Aurora, didn't you just count out 7 colors? I did, because in the human octave of your light body, which is also your time body, you have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then you have white light, which is the primacy of consciousness. It is unity consciousness. All of the other levels and colors and layers of your body are refractions of that primacy of light, which is where you emanate from. It is who you are on a level when all of your layers are combined or overlapping or braided and woven together into this complex completeness that is unity consciousness. So the white light comes from the source. This is very deep stuff here. This is a simple shape that has very, very deep stuff in it. I'm drinking my structured water here, and I don't know if you can even see it. It even has a big giant crystal in my water. I know. I'll get to that chat in a minute. I'm on a roll. The source, the emanation of all of this light in this sculptural form. So this is the 3-dimensional version, and I'll teach you my shorthand as to how I draw these diagrams. In this sculptural form and in my shorthand diagrams, the source is where I'm pointing with my pointer here. It is the convergence point of all of these vortex structures, which I think you can see quite well. Vortex, 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 vortex. That is 4 vortices. And then there is an implied vortex here and an implied vortex here. And that this is the shape of time. So that's actually moving into lesson 2. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but the big comprehension for this moment is that each one of us is an emanation or a ray or a fractal that has been diffracted or split into its constituent elements from the primacy of white light, which is unity consciousness. And that all of these levels of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet are time moving at slightly different rates. And I'll show you on a beautiful diagram too that will be achingly familiar. You're going to see this diagram all the time. But when I talk about an octave, so you have 7 colors plus white, brings you to 8, the number 8, the same as the octave on the piano. The piano that I have here, you can look down and see my piano. This is my piano over here. It's a digital piano. We have created this, or humans have created this, as a way of externalizing the structures that are internal. Internal truths are externalized as physical musical instruments and other forms of frequency formalism. So you have 8 notes that comprise an octave, beginning with C. Hope you can hear it, because I changed my musical settings so you can hear it. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then it goes in this back to C. So this is a C. Those are both C, because in the piano keyboard it just keeps going up. So where white light would be, which would be this high C, is actually the beginning of the next octave. And there's actually deep spiritual truth there as well, because as I begin to go through this teaching, when you reach the attainment of being able to exit the wormhole of this level of reality, which would be the lower quadrant of this sculpture here, and you're able to align fully with the source that is also your destination and go through that wormhole, you don't just poof out of existence. You don't just go bye-bye. This is also for many lessons down the road. This is about ascension. You exit this level of reality, but you enter into the next octave, the next layer of reality. And at that next layer of reality, you are starting at the widest point in the vortex. And then you move upward from there. And then that's not the end of the journey either. Then that attainment becomes the foundation. Hi, good to see you, for the next jumping off point into the next octave of reality. And this truly is an infinite journey in the most wonderful way. So I also recognize that I speak to people here who are on a traumatized planet where they're like rocking back and forth like, oh no, not another cycle, not another karmic cycle. Don't send me through the washing machine again. Don't worry, guys. It is a positive level of an infinite journey, not a negative level. That this is also big because I'm just getting into talking about the chakras and I'll go through the formalism of it. But socioculturally in this time place, a lot of people are like, I don't like my chakras. I don't like my chakras. They're a tool of imprisonment, or they've been hijacked or hacked, or they've been used to siphon energy off of me. Don't send me through the karmic washing machine again. These chakras are in imprisonment. Get rid of your chakras, etc., etc. And I'm like, no, 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 no. First of all, according to the brochure, I know how chakras are supposed to be when chakras are healthy and in balance and in a pristine system. And you want your chakras. Your chakras actually represent layers of reality of the subtle body. And they also represent aspects of connectivity to your coherent light family. You want your chakras. So throwing your chakras out the window or dismantling them in some way because they displease you would be like saying, I don't like my toenail polish on my toes, chop off my foot. Or I don't like my window, it's got streaks on it, throw my window out the window. You're like, no, what you need is like nail polish remover or Windex. You just need to clean things up. You don't need to amputate or destroy your infrastructure. Chakras are literally light body infrastructure, and they are incredibly essential. They both predate the presence of your physicality structure, and they exist after you no longer have physical presence, physicality structure. So before you were born, you had a chakra structure. You have there the armature and the framework upon which your physicality is created and upheld. And then when you no longer have a physicality structure, either due to metabolic death or the ascension, transformation, metamorphosis process, your chakras continue onward as a series of coherent light waves that stick together and do not disperse in the larger ocean of consciousness and time and light wave awareness that is in existence. You stick together like an ice cube in a giant sea of water. So chakras are incredibly valuable, good stuff that you want to maintain in a state of health and maintain in a state of balance, clear blockages from, and learn to navigate effectively, because we're also talking about time. So when welcome. I hope that so many people find this work, because I'm always trying to reach new people. Not that you present enrolled students are chopped liver, but I'm always trying to reach new people, because lots of people talk about chakras, but not very many people relate them to the truthfulness of our presence in time. So what I have is very, very accurate information about what you are doing as a ball of awareness moving through time. And time can be a little bit challenging to perceive. It is intangible. It is not something that you can point to. Like we can point to a dot, a line, a plane, a box. These are the spatial dimensions. The first, second, and third dimension being spatial dimensions. But time is like water, like the clear water that a fish swims within. It's the medium through which you swim and transit throughout your life. So the fourth dimension and higher, these are dimensions of time, and it can be a bit challenging for you to comprehend or apprehend or grasp what in the world is going on there, because these are intangibilities. And of course, the human mind and human neurology is largely wired for basic survivalism and the capacity to navigate the world of the five senses, the stuff that is tangible, that you can see and hear and touch and taste and sense, because that's what you need to do mostly in order to stay alive as an alive animal. What I am going to teach you today is really about how to stay alive from the multidimensional perspective, because it's not merely about having enough calories or enough molecules of water or avoiding being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or, whatever, some dangerous animal, or not falling over a cliff. those are all time events. So it is about navigating time events. And when you start to think about time events, then it becomes this kind of amorphous mishmash where you're like, what does it even look like? It's a cloudy structure. It can be hard to even know. So what I share with you that is unique as a teacher is a definitive formfulness of what time is structured like, and then how you can envision yourself journeying through time. This is a huge tool for empowerment. This will help you to feel much more happy and grateful to have a chakra system, to know about the subtle body. And once you begin to be able to use it, totally empowered. We're talking about your light body. It's also your time body, a body that is made of pure possibilities and probabilities. Thank you. I drink, and for anyone who's new to my class, this is like a marathon. I'm like moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour here. And I drink a lot of water, a lot of electrolyte water while we're going, because I'm like, gotta stay hydrated on the marathon. So, and I always used to apologize because I at one point, I guess erroneously read, like you're not supposed to, whatever, drink, if you're being a teacher or something like that. But people told me, like, stop apologizing, just do what you need to do for yourself. So yes, staying hydrated here on the marathon. Thank you for understanding. Before I roll onward on the marathon, I always have a tendency to go too fast. Hold on a second. Here we go. And miss the chat. So wait, I'm pressing buttons to try to read the chat. Let me move this aside so I can read. Charlie B says, not a musician, but something that helped me was when I learned that each musical octave is a doubling of frequency from the octave below. Absolutely. Beautiful point. So the way that you can imagine frequency as a musician or a non-musician, like everybody has ears. Hopefully all of you have a favorite song or something that you like. If you've ever looked at a piano, a grand piano is shaped kind of like long on this side, and then it curves and it gets shorter on this side. It's because there are actual strings inside of there. So again, I have an electric piano that mimics the sound of a grand piano, but the original pianos that were created, let's say the original lowest note, I'm gonna play a low note, I don't know if you can hear it. That's the low, here's the lowest C I can play. Let's say that piano string might be 3 feet long, right? So that's going to be the longest string and the lowest note and the largest wavelength. And then subsequent notes in each octave, like the next octave, the string for C will be 1.5, because 1.5 is half of 3. And then we will have 0.74 as the next one. We will have halves of the literal length of the string that you're working with. And that's why the piano is shaped in that way. Longer strings over here and then shorter strings over here. And they literally create waveforms. This is actually level 2 information, lesson 9, level 2, all about harmonics. So I've been spending a lot of time the past couple of days going over old lessons and uploading them and migrating them to Vimeo. So I'm very familiar with everything now. So yeah, and Charlie B is a wonderful returning student. So he knows my lessons all about harmonics. But that is essentially relevant and truthful to the presentation for today. You are made of music, and your chakra system, or your body, that is your subtle body that also comprises and encompasses your physical body presence, is made out of waveforms that could be considered music. So this will become a very, very familiar image that I use all the time in my classes, that you will see all the time. So when I share, oops, I missed the annotation. Okay, the annotation is back. Guys, sometimes life is so hard, but that worked. When you see me share this picture, first of all, when you see me share the yellow sculpture over here, what I'm showing you here is an accurate 3-dimensional but static, non-moving form of these chakra systems that you see here. The chakra systems here are also accurate, but what you're seeing is a 2-dimensional or slice or cross-section version. So that yellow chakra sculpture that you're seeing here, I'm going to outline it. You can see this vortex that's here, this vortex that's here, and then we've got kind of like the rounded edge facing forward towards you here. Sometimes my digital pen doesn't work, but I can really draw, guys, I swear. And in this drawing, I simplified. I did not put in the upper vortex, but there's an upper vortex here that goes down like this, and that's a terrible drawing. Then there's a lower vortex here that goes up like this. And this drawing is a very, very good, accurate representation of what's going on as it relates to your anthropomorphic form, because what you have are chakras that are stacked up like water wheels, or like, what would we say, like a waterfall cascade. That energy enters from the primacy of white light over here, and it transits through your violet chakra, through your indigo chakra, through your light blue chakra, through your green chakra, which is your heart. This is the central clearinghouse of all information in your body. That information comes from the higher dimensional, less dense realms downward or inward into your physicality presence realm, denser realms. But information also comes from the denser realms upward as the life experience that you're here experiencing with your five senses. So it's a two-way highway, and all of that goes through your heart. And then so coming downward, it comes through the clearinghouse of your heart, it goes into your intellect, which is where most people identify as ego structure, and they say, oh, I'm having a thought. But before you have a conscious thought, you have all of this stuff going on that is not considered subconscious or unconscious, but is instead supraconscious, super conscious. The higher consciousness aspect of self comes into your yellow daily waking intellect, moves through your emotions, which are these orange centers, which are your mammalian feeling states, and then moves into your physicality structure, which is represented as the root chakra, or the base of your spine, or the area between your legs. So again, most teachers and teachings are sharing about chakras as being amorphous balls of light. There is some level of accuracy there, but you guys, in order to level up, navigate reality, and truly be empowered, need to know more about like just a generality. That would be like if I give you a recipe where you're like, Aurora, like, how do you make bread, or how do you make strudel? I'd be like, you take some water, you take some flour, you take some apples, you throw it all together, like you mush, and then it's boom, you got bread. That is a huge glossing over and simplification, because there are real recipes, real measurements involved. In music, there are real measurements that make this. I'm going to play a chord. Ah, it sounds so pretty. That sounds very nice. It's because these are finely tuned waveforms that nest together harmonically in perfect proportion, as opposed to, I will now play something that is not music. That was me just mashing my fist onto the keyboard and not playing specific notes together. So you have a specific recipe in your body structure. And when I talk about your body structure, I'm really talking about your physical, somatic, cellular structure, and all of these other layers too. And I'll go through exactly what all of these other layers are. There's a specific recipe. So when you have white light that comes from the primacy of the source, the way in which it is apportioned into these different colors of the rainbow is very, very specific, very, very non-random, and is the recipe of you, and it is the recipe of life. So I did the energy flowing all the way through these chakra systems into the physical realm. That's like getting an impulse from the divine higher mind, highest consciousness. You also have impulses that travel in the other complementary direction from you as the embodied experiencer, like a fish that is swimming in the stream of time, upward, quote unquote, or outward, quote unquote, into the higher dimensional realms. And that would be transmitting back the experience of your five senses and everything that you're doing and experiencing as a physical embodiment person. So one big thing that I make a distinction in my teaching, the chakras have shape and form and proportion to them, not just glowing balls of light, and that there is not a better portion of yourself, because for a very long time humanity has had blockages that prevented the access of the higher faculties or these less dense levels of your subtle body, so that almost felt like it was something other than you. But it's very, very much you. That's why this class is called Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, because you are a full spectrum being, all the way, I'll use this sculpture just to delineate it for you, all the way from red through violet, you comprise the entirety of being. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit in my notes, but for a very long time in human history, during the time of having these genetic blockages and consciousness diminishment structures implanted within you. Humans have been defined as merely a physicality presence, your somatic cellular body. That's red. Everything that, when we talk about this going forward in class, the red level of reality is physicality. So in your body and the layers of your body that represents this fleshy body, like I'm touching my face, this is me. But all of these other layers are also me that are moving at a different rate. And red also represents the physical world. Like I have a room around me with physical walls, and there's the physical sculpture hanging from the ceiling, and there's the physical floor and a physical chair that I'm sitting upon. That is also represented by the red of the red chakra. Humans were defined also as having orange mammalian emotions. Almost everybody can agree that there are emotions such as either a romantic attraction, revulsion, happiness, joy, grief, sadness, sorrow, and also tenderness, loyalty, possessiveness. These are all mammalian emotions. And then on top of that, a thin smear of the human cerebrum, which is yellow, which is the human intellect. That is what humans were defined as for a very long time. And that's clearly only a portion of the totality of your being. That represents what, in the old style way of thinking about this, would be your lower self. That everyone's like, oh, I don't like my lower self. But your lower self is great. But your lower self needs to be finely calibrated and also connected to your higher self. And then what you have is a balance, and you have the full spectrum of who and what you are. So to complete the thought structure, upwards from your daily waking intellect, which is the level of yellow, you have green, which is the level of your heart. I represent that on the piano as the note A. A, it's love tone. And love tone, like I said, is the central clearinghouse of your apparatus. I'm not a transhumanist, although sometimes I use analogies that are similar to computer language. Signals, the central processing unit, your CPU. So in your computer, your CPU is like the box where all the microchips are. All of the signals come through your CPU. Everything comes through there. So signals coming from the higher dimensional realms come through there into your physicality presence. Signals of the experience of being an embodied person and what it's like to be boots on the ground, and transmitting that upward to your higher self and to the sun and the stars and network of pure light, also goes through the clearinghouse of your heart. So having an open heart literally means that your chakra is like a conduit that water can flow through, as opposed to closing it down with layers of denial or skepticism or lack of acceptance. That means that information doesn't flow. And that happens sometimes when people are like, can't deal with that thought structure, closing my heart. And the real love tone is defined as moving at one moment per moment in time, where you are in a cosmic love affair with time itself, and also acceptance of the information and pure intelligence that is flowing to you in each moment, a non-judgment, which doesn't mean that, it means that you perceive it, you don't judge it as being like, this is too much, like I'm not allowed to think this thought, or I'm in denial, I don't like that thought, my fingers go in my ears, la 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 la, don't make me think that thought. So open-hearted means accepting of information. And it is essential to cultivate that level of attainment so that you can then activate the higher faculties. So your higher faculties are everything up above that note of love. The light blue or turquoise affiliated with the throat, this is communication, but this is also honesty, authenticity, truthfulness. All right, you can think of it in that sense, accuracy, honesty. Upward from there, we have indigo, which is affiliated with the Christ chakra, non-denominational, galactic level of consciousness, meta, overarching being state. Hey, Lucy, good to see you. Thank you for tuning in as always. That you are a facet on the gem of consciousness that is known as Christ. And this is a retina cell of a much, much larger being. Oh, let me just mute you. Not because we don't love you, just because it helps with the quality of the audio recording for later. There we go. I'm muting y'all. And then upward from there, indigo is intimately connected to violet. These two are like married, even though I know the word married It's very fraught, has a lot of baggage attached to it. When I recorded my lessons 10 years ago, I was even like a bit more naive about human social dynamics. And then I later on learned like, oh, if you say people are married or that systems are married or whatever like that, like there's a lot of imbalances in marriages. So I'll get into that also as well. But in the pristine world that I come from and in the world of pure energy, we're talking about aspects of your energy anatomy that are totally partnered and complementary. That is what I mean by marriage. And so you have your indigo brow chakra and your violet crown chakra that intimately fit together, kind of like two interlocking gears, and that creates your highest senses, your higher self, higher faculties, higher senses, the capacity to see and know on a supra conscious level, and the capacity to speak truth about what you see and know. And all of this is predicated upon this wonderful foundation of unconditional love. So for a very long amount of time in human history, the attainment of unconditional love was seen to be, or expected to be, only for very special people. Only for like maybe if you lived in a monastery, meditated on a mountaintop every day, I don't know, wearing all white, eating very little food. It was seen as like only certain people got to be at that level, and everyone else was like, you're going to push a wheelbarrow full of doo-doo, like you're going to do very, very small, lower, mundane, menial tasks and not get to that level. But I portray or frame this, contextualize this very, very differently. I say that is your basis of who you are. Love is the basis of who you are, not the peak of your spiritual attainment. And love is the prerequisite for being able to matriculate to the University of the Universe, where you activate or reclaim your higher senses, reclaim your higher self as identity, as yourself, join together so it's no longer your lower self versus your higher self, become a full spectrum human, and receive and send these impulses that are in a bridge of light all the way from the highest level of unity consciousness through into the physicality level, and then from the physicality level back into the levels of pure light, pure unity consciousness, total abstraction, because that's your job. So this is big teaching here. This is really about totally reframing and redefining what it is to be a human, that you're not supposed to be just some lowly idiot organism pushing a wheelbarrow full of doo-doo. You are supposed to be at the level of love, at the level of acceptance, and activating your higher senses, where you are able to perceive time directly. You are able to see and sense the future. You are able to be telepathic with other organisms. You are able to receive information and directives from the sun and the stars and pure light or pure consciousness itself, and have that be what directs your journey through time. Oh, so sorry. Again, these loud notifications. I don't know how to make them stop beeping into my computer. Like, I know a lot of things about computers, but some things I don't know. Before I go on any further, let me read the chat because I always go too fast. Okay. Oh, Lucy has a wonderful question. This is actually relevant to what I was just saying about this, the light and everything. She says, wonder what's going on with the sun. Okay, listen, guys. Like, I read stuff on Facebook and social media. So where I am is Southern California. And right now, like, I don't know if you can tell from my outfit, it's cold outside. 62 degrees. It's not that cold. We're not going to get frostbite. It's California cold. But this is like our wintertime weather. This is not normal for June. I was wearing a sweater yesterday. I'm complaining. I'm like, why am I wearing a sweater in June? Heavy overcast days, very cold, very chilly, totally not normal. We're usually sunny and 85 at this time of year. And I was looking on my social media this morning, and many people in the east part of United States, the Northeast, are having a huge blanket of smoke from fires that are in Canada, Quebec area. So this is Eastern Canada, that's blanketing out the sun. And when these things are happening, so I'm recognizing, I'm accepting information that comes to me through my higher senses, through my heart, that comes to my intellect, I'm like, they're doing something to block out the sun. Something is being done right now. There's a lot of unnatural weather that is happening right now that is blocking out or obscuring our direct connection to the sun. And I teach about sun gazing in this class. It is part of connecting to the primacy of light. It is one of the ways in which we, as physicality presences, we don't just eat light through our food, through the digestion process of glucose and the Krebs cycle. We actually eat light directly from the sun using our pineal gland. I always use this little stylus pointer, putting out my tendril of attention. I point out my tendril of attention. I touch the sun and I draw that energy in through all of my layers of my subtle body, and it's like the gas that makes my car go. And that also is truthful of your mitochondria. So you have the physicality presences of these beautiful, amazing little tiny subcellular organelles who, by the way, have their own little DNA strands. That is when we teach about lasagna and its connection to DNA, and there's nuclear DNA, which is what's in the nucleus of your cell, but there's also the DNA that is unique to the mitochondria, which are its own little blueprint section. That's like they've got their own rules that fits within the larger substrate of your overarching DNA blueprint of who you are, but they're very, very unique creatures that have been incorporated into aspects of your being, and they also eat light. Light is essential for the metabolism and health of your body, and when light is blocked out from the sun or obscured or diminished, it absolutely affects your levels of human consciousness, what your awareness, what you can perceive, what you can know. Not just like it's harder to know stuff in a dark room because you can't see as much with your eyes, but it's harder to know spiritual truth and to know which direction is spiritual truth and where to go in your life. So they are the powers that were, those who have been distressing the weather cycles, have been doing some not unfun hijinks with our ability to connect to the sun. So yeah, all of California right now is very socked in with clouds. It's very unnatural, and not only is it blocking out the sun, but it feels super depressing. It feels very diminishing, like energy drain. And then on the East Coast of the United States, many, many people are not receiving the sunlight that they should be receiving due to fires and the way that the smoke is particulates in the air and is blocking out effective connection to the sun. And all of this, like, you're a light eater. All of you are light eaters. You need to be able to connect to the sun and to the stellar network as part of the personal and planetary ascension process. It is food, it's frequency food for your attainment process. So when there are things that are blocked out like that, it's very, very distressing. And then the attainment process of what is happening in our world, the sun is changing, evolving, and transforming. And people are worried about pole shift, and people are worried about earthly pole shift. But I will tell you this, you don't have to worry about pole shift, because what has happened in the past, as this reverberates to your primary trauma of the diminishment of consciousness after Atlantis, which is known as like the fall or the fall from grace or the deluge, the flood, there everyone is like, oh no, it's going to happen again. Don't deluge me again. You're afraid. Mostly humans are afraid of a similar catastrophe happening with a giant pole shift north-south to south-north and crustal displacement and huge geological shifts as a catastrophe on the level of continents being shifted happens, which is what occurred in the past. Bad stuff happened in the past, but that bad stuff does not have to be repeated into your present and into your future. And this painting is really about the pole shift that is happening, not north-south to south-north, but inside to outside. As we are learning today the basics of what the chakra and toroidal structure is, but this is the precursor to this, which is Flying Rainbow Lasagna, which is the real purpose for all of this class. So when I'm a music teacher and I teach you, like, this note is a C, this note is an E, this note is a G, and they make a chord all together. sounds so pretty. I'm teaching you these things so that you can eventually play a symphony. And the flying rainbow lasagna is like participating in the cosmic symphony as a virtuous virtuoso. So there is a beautiful ongoing evolution that is happening not only in your planet here, in your physical body, also in every cellular structure of your physical body, also time structures, yes, but also in the sun and the stars and the stellar network and all light everywhere. So Lucy asked a small question, not a small question, but like, I answered on the biggest level I possibly can. The sun is presently being obscured from our physical presence, and the sun also at the same time is experiencing an amazing level of personal evolution, change, and transformation that relates to each one of us in terms of our own spiritual attainment. The sun is, as a star, is on a journey, as a consciousness, is on a journey of self-exploration and spiritual attainment, and we are as well. And it's all fractal and concurrent, meaning it's not like linear, like first I'm going to ascend, and then this will ascend, and this will ascend, and then the star will ascend. Everybody is ascending. Everybody is reaching that aha moment of, aha, I remember, I'm God. The sun remembers, all light everywhere remembers, I remember, you remember, the trees out my window remember, we all remember at one moment. That is an amazing moment. So yeah, these are artificial attempts to try to distance us from our food source, our source of inspiration, and from the concurrent levels of highest consciousness that are also going through levels of attainment. What do you do? What do you do? Because I'm not only going to talk about the bad stuff that's going on without giving you practicalities. When I need to reach the true sun, I vibrate past any obstacle by using the flying rainbow lasagna. So if I can't get there directly in a straight line, I will jump up and over or bend and fold the fabric of time, space, and consciousness in order to make point A and point B have no space between them. This might be complex for anyone who's a total newcomer, but experts, students who have been here in the long term already know about how to do this. But doing that does require a bunch of gas in your car. So if you're really out of gas, if you're like really pooped out and feeling not that great, it can be very difficult to have the energy to do this, higher dimensional leap to be able to connect with the sun. And once you connect with the sun, that's like ka-ching, like you get paid, you get energy, you get reinvigorated. But if you can't quite make that leap because you're really feeling starving inside, here are some practicalities that you can do. I got a small infrared light panel, which definitely speaks to the mitochondria of my body. And I use that on these gray, rainy, cloudy days when I wake up in the morning, put it on my face, put it up above my head. It mimics the wavelengths and frequencies that we would be experiencing if we woke up on a beautiful sunny day and the beautiful warm sunlight is cascading in your window, coming across your face and waking you up in the morning. So it helps on levels of like anti-inflammation and body regeneration and cellular renewal. And it also helps your mitochondria to run their little wheels much more effectively with less drag, less resistance through the less viscosity. Get less viscosity in your engine so your engine runs better and makes your mitochondria a lot happier. So there's just so many good benefits to infrared light therapy, and also more recently, as I gesture, positive anti-inflammation effects against spike protein and some of the other crapolas that are in our environment that you might be willingly or unwillingly, wittingly or unwittingly exposed to. That can cause a lot of difficulties in your body and your cell-to-cell communication. So infrared light is great stuff on a lot of ways, and it's a good band-aid coping mechanism for when you can't get to the real sun. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I do that is specifically related to light and sunlight that helps me to cope like that. I think that's probably one of the biggest ones that helps me when there are days when it's really not that sunny. Let me read Melissa's comment. She says, this reminds me of a thought I had recently about even though I have to squint, I'm so sorry, there has been an awkward layer of reality, there's always been, and is still now, the base layer, which is made of creative love and finds ways to present itself all the time. Absolutely. I stand up and cheer. That is spiritual truth. Like, you have just shared a lot of spiritual truth with us. Through human history, the time when everybody was defined as just red, orange, and yellow, and pushing a wheelbarrow, there have been, it's what the Hindu tradition calls Maya, or the Buddhist tradition. It's like Illusion is recognizing that the world that we're seeing and perceiving with our five senses is not ultimate reality. So right now we're going deep into spiritual truth here. You look around at the world, you have these different sensations that have to do with your somatic structure and that also have to do with pure survivalism. But you recognize that's not the whole story of reality. That's only the visible sensorium tip of the iceberg, and there's really something else going on. And the truthfulness, the true nature of reality is ineffable and is supreme and is always there. So think of the true nature of reality as being like the substrate or the foundation or the armature, and then these smaller realities that we experience are like sprinkles on top. It's not the foundation, it is just the sprinkling on top, or the overlay of things that we are experiencing. And once you begin to activate your higher senses, you are able to sense beyond the mere surface level, the veneer of reality, and go deeper into the armature and the substrate of event structure, energy structure, what makes things happen, why things happen, and how things are connected. And this is all part of your maturation and evolution process and becoming capacitated to being a galactic citizen. Because in order to be responsible, you have to know a lot of stuff and be able to sense a lot of stuff. You can't just be working from the, periphery and the tip of the iceberg. You have to know about the entirety of events, and that way you get the full picture. You get the complete, you are completely informed, and then you are able to respond effectively from that standpoint of receiving accurate contextualization. So just know that when you look at the world around you right now, like you might be getting a slice of the frequency pie, but not the full helping that should be on your plate. You should have the entire pie with whipped cream and sprinkles and good stuff on top of there. And humans haven't been getting that for a long time. And then when things get blocked out physically due to sky poops or forest fires or any kind of things like that, then you're really not getting the entirety of information. So in those moments, just hold your, don't draw any conclusions. Be like, something, I don't have enough information to draw conclusions yet. Let me wait until I can know and see more. That is really the most responsible thing that you can do. Oh, and Lucy is saying that she's perceiving the sun was in the wrong place. A lot of people have been reporting that, and also that the moon is in the wrong place. So the sun is sometimes rising in a weird place and setting in a weird place, not according to the compass of east and west. Yeah. And also, and Lucy's saying, as well as the wrong color and not photographing the way it doesn't show up in pictures as it looks to your physical eyes, and also that you wouldn't want to gaze at that sun. I totally understand what you're talking about in terms of sun gazing. Where's my little sunglasses? I didn't know where they went. But so for a long time, when I do my sun gazing now, I close my eyes because there's a fake light in the sky. I don't even call it the sun, I call it the skylight. There's a light in the sky that's not really the sun. There's something bright and glaring up there, but it's not the true sun, but there is the true sun. So here is how I'm really comprehending all of that. The true sun is primary and it still exists, but then you have all this frequency crapola that is around you, around your eyes and optic nerve and optic interpretation system in your brain, and 5G and all of these millimeter waves that are in the atmosphere have been blocking out your access to the true sun. And when I got that IBAMAC paper, the IBAWell paper, I actually put it into a set of eyeglasses. That's what I was just looking for. It's some here in my crazy disorganized studio. But I took that paper and I cut it and I put it inside of some sunglasses, and I wear those when I walk around now. And believe me, I can't drive because it does not give me perfect vision, but it blocks out the false light from the sky. And then I feel like all that I'm receiving is the true light from the true sun. So my big message to you is that the true sun is still there. The true sun still exists. All the true sun and true stars love you profoundly, want to help you and nourish you on your journey of ascension, want to bring you upward and higher. I'm doing that thing where I have to stretch out my body. Want to help you in your process of ascension and nourish you in every possible good way. And then there are these nefarious technological devices that have been blocking out your access to that true nourishment. And so, I've been doing sun gazing through the IBAWell paper, And that has been incredibly nourishing to me in the past couple of weeks. So that's what I would really recommend. And it was actually quite a revelation when I put it into my sunglasses and I walked around town. I was like, everything looks so green. Like I saw the true color of plants again. I was like, wow, like the sun has its regular rainbow like aura around it, as opposed to this like glaringly white thing that doesn't feel like the real nourishing sun. So there is like an imposter sun that is around our sun, that is not the true sun. And this is big stuff that we talk about here. Melissa says all the information you teach is now being found more and more in social media. All of the info is out there, but very compartmentalized. Oh, once you connect all the dots, it makes more sense and becomes its own aha moment. I am happy to hear that there is more information that is available, because this is something, this is like, it's like a roadmap. You want everybody to get to the destination ascension. This should not be a secret in any way. If you have tips of the trade as to how to get there or what you're supposed to be doing, yes, we absolutely wish to share that information with each other effectively. And then I also know sometimes you have to wade through, because not everybody is a perfectly clear conduit. So sometimes things come through the distortions of their ego, and maybe they've got partial truth, but not total truth. But it's really essential, like if you know something, to share it effectively with others, because it can really inform and help them on their journey. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Lucy wants to know what the name of the paper is. It's actually called Iba Well. Hold on a second. I have this right here. So the Iba company, which I'm a huge advocate for, I'm an affiliate, and I think that they are a wonderful company doing wonderful things. That when you see me working with my crystal, and I'm doing this a lot for shielding, when you see me working with this crystal, so it's the same people that make this. This has this amazing gallium arsenide crystal inside of it, and they make this. It's very delicate. I don't want to drop it on the floor. It's like a plasticine sheet that has little tiny versions of that crystal impregnated into it. And for a long time, I was sun gazing by just like looking through this, and then I was kind of sticking it on my forehead. So this is actually created as a healing device. There's totally no batteries required, no plug required. You can just put it on whatever part of the body needs healing, and it does quite an amazing job. And it's also like very affordable, and it's like whatever, under $100. It's accessible to people that need healing. So like they're a wonderful company. They're trying to make things accessible. But when I was sun gazing one night, I got the intuitive hit that I'm like, well, what would happen if I sun gazed through the paper? And I did. I kind of stuck it to my forehead, and I was like, this is amazing. Like I'm actually seeing the true sun again. So I didn't cut out this sheet. I cut out the circles from a different sheet, and I put it into my sunglasses. So I can share the link for you if you want to. Hold on a minute. Something. Let me pause for a moment. Okay, I just put two links in the chat. I gave a little pause so you didn't have to watch me scroll. You're very welcome to the company EIBA. IBA means energy in balance. They're a German company, very worthy, wonderful company that is worthy of support. They're doing a lot for humanity's uplift and support and facilitation of our ascension process here. Yeah, and so that's called Iba Well. So there's three things. There's Iba Mac and Iba Vita. Those are both like mechanical structures that you plug into the wall. But that piece of paper is called Iba Well. It's the crystalline healing paper that is actually quite amazing. So back to the chat, making sure, yeah, so I got through everything that's important and relevant to there. Okay, let me get back to my notes. So I should also talk about when we look at this image I'm going to share with you here. You see you have the physical human form, anthropomorphic form, and then this surrounding energy field around a person. And you're like, well, Aurora, what is it? Is it optical light? It is not optical light. Optical light is the small frequency slice of the larger frequency pie that is what we can see with the actual retinas of our body. But this light that is here, that surrounds us in this way, although it is color coded according to the rainbow colors that we perceive as optical light, it should be considered to be a body of, if I call it radiation, you're going to think I mean X-rays or something like that, but it is of a subtle radiation. And it is not optical, and it has not really been effectively perceived or measured by physical science, which is why there is some level of challenge in being able to talk about this. This is the light that you see with your inner eye, and your inner eye is your imagination, but your imagination is not an ephemeral, flimsy, nonsensical, arbitrary thing. It is actually a thing that perceives and creates great levels of truth. So you have these layers of your body that are perceptible to your inner eye, to your most advanced level of reality perception. And it is analogous to the world of pure energy, and also can be considered an electromagnetic phenomenon. So the chakra shape over here is the exact same shape as Earth's magnetosphere. My painting in the background, but you can't see, there's little silver dots that look like a torus around the Earth. So Earth has a scientifically objective materialist 5 senses reality measurable magnetic field that is shaped exactly like a torus, toroidal structure. And it is a protective force field that prevents Earth from being constantly beamed by cosmic debris and destroying biological life. That means you and me. It's an incredibly necessary item to be able to develop complex biological life on a planet. And the sun's heliosphere, similarly, is shaped like this. It's an electromagnetic force field that it's not static either. And I'll get into this in later teachings. It's shaped in these amazing figure eights and loops. So these loops go around like this, and you also have these vortexes that go in a swirly shape. And those are both perceptible not to as optical light, but as electromagnetic phenomena. So if science can level up and can build apparatus to be able to sense the subtle body, it would or will then be able to validate what myself and many other direct intuitive perceivers of reality have known for millennia, for many, many ages of human history here. So you have these subtle bodies that are actually made out of something that is analogous to electromagnetic radiation, but not even exactly the same as that. They're made out of time. So Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, that is the visible light continuum of energy, or the color recipe of light from our star. And that is an analogy for what we perceive in this, which is actually your time body. So now we have to get into the color recipe that we perceive. I can just use my templates, or I can show you my paintings in the background. And also P.S. Here, look, wait. This is my big giant, stack of templates over here. Preparing for class on Saturday. If you're not already on board, jump on board. I'm going to do energetic anatomy drawing class, where you're going to learn how to draw accurately the chakras of your body. Something just happened. I had to press something. Okay, good. I didn't know what I just did, but I pressed the button and something happened. Music spontaneously emerged. Chakras of your body exist in these particular proportions. Hope you can see this. This is a 12-inch circle. And everywhere in my paintings, when you have red or the red chakra or the physical world represented, I represent it as a 12-inch circle. But it can be 12 units of anything. The proportions that matter is that red equals 1 unit, and orange is always going to be 1/2 of red. So what is 1/2 of 12? I am making you do math. 1/2 of 12 is 6. So I can fit 2 6-inch circles within one giant red 12-inch circle. And then yellow is always going to be 1/3 of the size of red, the primary unit, which is going to be 1. What's 12 divided by 3? You're smart. You can do it. It's 4. Can you see there's a 4 there? 4 can fit 3 of these 4-inch circles. 1, 2, 3 into the larger 12-inch circle. Green is always going to be, hold on, I want to find the right circle here. It's always going to be 1/4 the size of the red circle. So what is 12 divided by 4? 3. 3-inch circle. Can you see it there? There's a 3. 3-inch circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And blue is always going to be 1/5. This one might be a little bit hard. What's 12 divided by 5? Okay, guys, I'll give it to you. It's 2.4, roughly 2.4. 1. Pardon me, I think there's some dust on these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these turquoise 2.4-inch circles can fit within 1 red circle. And then, what's 12 divided by 6? Easy, you guys can get this. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 2. So I can fit 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inside of 1 big giant 12-inch circle. And then this one might also be a challenge for you. Violet is always going to be 1/7. Violet is always going to be 1/7 of whatever unit size you make 12. So you can make 12. Red, you can make red 10, and then it would be 10 divided by 7. But I make my red 12. And then what's 12 divided by 7? It's hard. It's 1.7. It's roughly 1.68, which is actually the Phidias proportion, which is amazing. Lots of stuff in our physical world is based on the proportion of Phi, Phi, named after Phidias from ancient Greece, 1 to 1.618, and that represents like the finger bone, this smaller finger bone digit to this longer finger bone digit to this longer finger bone digit, or the length of your arm to the length of your arm over here, or the length of your calf to the length of your thigh, or the length of your side tooth to the length of your front tooth. It's all phi. It's amazing proportions that are in there. So that's, I rounded up to 1.7, but phi is 1.68. So it's okay. You round it up a little bit. Main point is, she's like, too much math. Aurora, math is falling on my head. No, guys, math is fun. We love numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You will always have 7 units of violet that fit within 1 unit of red. If you are drawn to math and don't feel like that was an inundation and feel like, give me more, please sign up for my class. I'll include the link that is for this Saturday. It's not too late to sign up for class. I delayed class because I had these circle templates custom cut for our wonderful participants. I just have to stick this on the floor over here. But the custom cutter guy didn't get the message right. There was some communication difficulty. The templates were not sent out on time. And so rather than do class without everyone having their templates, I said, let us delay. So I delayed class until June 10th. So this is June 10th, 12 p.m., 3-hour drawing class that basically is how to draw this energetic anatomy that I'm sharing with you in this chakra drawing that I have over there. You are made of music. You are made of math. Music and math are intimately connected, as Charlie B shared with us. The doubling, the octaves in the doubling. C. C. Turn it up like this. C. C. That is math. You're hearing math. That is good. And you are made of math. And when you're in states of total health and well-being, all of the chakras of your body and all of the cell-to-cell communication and shape of your cells and the blood flowing in your body and the activities of your organs is all math and just all music. It's all good stuff that is perfectly harmonically proportioned, and you want it to be that way. Like, math is your friend, guys. Hug math. Hug math. We love you, math. Math is your friend. Because I say this because I know a lot of people had traumatic experiences when they were in 3rd grade. Something with flashcards. They can't remember whatever it is, 4 times 7. Like, no, somebody hurt me with flashcards. I'm sorry. Everything is okay now, guys. Everything is okay. No one's going to hurt you with flashcards. And this is a fun, safe space to be able to learn about math. I sometimes use the analogy of waves crashing on a beach. So yeah, and I can draw it out for you. In the analogy of waves crashing on a beach, let's draw it. Learn with pictures. First, let's draw the beach. All right, this black line represents the beach, and then this is the wavelength of red, the largest wavelength, longest wavelength, slowest, and lowest frequency. So that's one. Got one red over there. And in the time that it takes one red wave to crash on the beach, you actually can get two orange waves to crash on the beach. And this is going to start to get complex when I start to write out these numbers. In the same amount of time that you can get two orange waves to crash on the beach, you can get three yellow waves to crash on the beach. In the same amount of time that you can get one red wave to crash on the beach, you can get four green waves to crash on the beach. There is a Tom Petty song that's going in your head now, I can tell. Like waves crashing on the beach, but don't get me started, guys. 5 turquoise waves crash on the beach in the span of time that it takes one red wave to crash. Let's get a nice dark blue. Dark blue is going to be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should have made them smaller, but they were a bit exuberant. 6 indigo waves crash on the beach, and again 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 violet waves crash on the beach. So this has to do with wavelength versus frequency. Wavelength is the literal length of how long these waves are. You can tell that the red length is much longer than the violet length. And frequency is how fast it's going. The red length is long, big, long, and slow. And the violet length is small and fast, 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 fast. And that is the story of light. Higher frequency, smaller wavelength. And when we get past optical light, we get into the levels of radiation that are known as X-rays, gamma rays, and super high energy waves that have very, 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 very tiny wavelengths and move very, 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 very fast. So do you know why stop signs are red? Because red is the longest wavelength and of optical light, and it travels the longest. You can see red from further away than you can see blue. This is also why so many ripe berries are red. This is an evolutionary advantage. If you want a binocular biped or whatever, an animal, 4-legged animal, to see your berries, if you're like, I'm a plant and I'm making these berries and I want something to eat my berries and propagate my seeds all over. I want something to see my stuff from far away and be like, berries are here, eat this now, and then propagate my seeds as a byproduct of, eating my stuff. Red fruit is visible from far away. Blue fruit is not that visible from far away. There are very, very few blue foods. Red stop signs are visible from far away. They are more visible than blue stop signs. It is why we make things red stop signs in United States, and mostly in United States, red fire engines, because fire engines are supposed to give the right of way. Like you see the emergency vehicle coming, you see red from far away and be like, okay, better let that truck pass me by because that needs to get to a fire somewhere, as opposed to making them violet. Violet does not travel very far. So this is also why we do not have violet skies during the dusk and dawn. During dusk and dawn, so during the middle of the day, light comes down from the sun like this at an angle that creates mostly scattering of light into blue, the color of our sky, through the atmosphere. And when light comes at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, it is moving laterally through many, many layers of atmosphere. The blue scatters, the violet scatters, every other color scatters, almost except for red and orange, because those are the longest, slowest, most persistent wavelengths that exist. So if someone asks what color is the sky, the answer is at what time of day. Like at dusk and at dawn, the sky is mostly reddish or orangish because those are the color wavelengths that reach your eye. And in the middle of the day, sun is oriented like this, mostly the colors that reach your eye are blue because of the scattering effect of our atmosphere. So that is just physical five senses example of what we're talking about. But when you take that analogy and you bring it further forward, your red chakra is the loudest, most persistent level of reality that you're experiencing. Physical reality, the primacy of the physical reality. Oh, let me just mute you, not because I don't love you, just for the sake of the recording. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. And hi, Trish. Good to see you. And when we get up to the level, so moving into more, subsequently, more and more subtle layers of the body. And when we get up to the level of violet, we're at the most subtle layer within the human octave. Hi, good to see you, dear. That is the most subtle layer. It doesn't mean that it's not good. It just means that it is the smallest wavelength, highest frequency, and that it is not going to travel as far and as effectively as the physicality presence. Okay, so got you through the main proportions. Mastering that concept of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and mastering those proportions is like comprehending music theory. It's always going to serve you. It's going to serve you throughout your whole entire career as a virtuous virtuoso, as an owner-occupier of chakras, owner-occupier, user, partner, experiencer of chakras and the chakra system, and will always remain forever relevant, like whatever, a tuxedo that is always in style, a classic tuxedo that is always in style. So these fields of energy that surround and interpenetrate your physical body are made out of flowing waves of energy. So I've shown you a static image and I've shown you a static three-dimensional sculpture, but you must comprehend that these are made out of flowing waves of energy. It's called the standing wave. Many, 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 many figure eights and circles that are constantly moving that comprise coherent totality structure. And your job as an ascending being is to create a coherent structure that will stick together. I use this joke all the time. That's what good waffles do. They stick together. That will stick together throughout time. Even when you enter into the ocean of consciousness, that is a giant, not maelstrom, but a turbulent is the word, a turbulent sea of multiple waveforms. And you have to somehow stick together as a coherent sense of your own self. And that is really the essence of your journey. If you ever wonder existentially, like, why am I here? Like I always joke, little kids ask their moms and dads, like, Mommy, Daddy, why am I here? So it's, well, son or daughter, you are here in order to create a coherent waveform light body so that when you ascend or die, you will not lose your sense of self. You will maintain your sense of self even as you travel through the turbulent fields of possibilities and probabilities. You're like, okay, Mommy, Daddy, sounds good. You know, like, yes, it's very, very complex stuff, but that's what you're here for. And that is what spiritual attainment is. Chakras are fractals. And what does fractal mean? It means a nested, self-similar, smaller version where, you know, you have the red layer. You can see it perfectly on this painting over here. I'm not going to keep switching back and forth. That's why I organized all these paintings behind me like this. You have the red layer that is this four-lobed shape. Wait, I gotta do positive and negative space. Oh my goodness, guys, we got to get through a lot today. Don't worry, we're not rushed for time. I don't have any particular assignments after this. We're not rushed for time. I'm like, I have so much to get through. Oh my goodness, I'm running this marathon. All right, so on that painting that you see behind me there, you see roughly a four-lobe shape, 1, 2, 3, 4, but what you're looking at is a cross-section, and I have to get into my shorthand of what we're actually looking at here. But what you have here is the negative space. So here you will see 4 lobes. Let's count it like Sesame Street. I love Sesame Street. The count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 lobes. But when you look at this shape represents the negative space inside of this shape. So you can see the negative space. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the empty space. The negative space does not mean bad space. Negative space just means the receptive space. So in art, in sculpture, we talk about the positive and the negative space. The positive space of this glass is the actual crystalline structure of the glass. The negative space is the empty space inside that contains the water that I drink. In your chakras, you have both positive and negative space. The positive space is created by the membranes that are comprised of nothing more than the whirling and twirling levels of time, substance of time itself. And the negative space are these four vortices, the complementary shapes that fill up the space in between the vortices. And that there are actually 8 of them. So I'm holding this little shape here so you can see there's 4, but you're looking at a cross section, 1, 2, 3, 4, but then there's 4 in the background, 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are actually what the wings of your body are like. I want to see your butterfly body. When you metamorphosize, when you metamorphose from being a not two-dimensional person experiencing time in 2 dimensions, which would mean experiencing breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a line, and you metamorphose into a multi-dimensional person that is a full spectrum human. These are like your butterfly wings, and you are able to fly from flower to flower. You don't just have to inch along like an inchworm on the surface of time. You can fly from flower to flower, and that means that you can experience breakfast and then go to lunch in 10,000 years and then fly backwards in time 2 million years and have dinner 2 million years ago. Or what if you could have, like, here's a bite of breakfast now, and then I'm going to have a bite of lunch in 2 million years. Then I'm going to have a bite of lunch that's deep antiquity. Then I'm going to have a bite of lunch that's in a higher dimensional reality. That is what it is to be a full spectrum human with your butterfly wings activated. So when I talk about fractality, you have that larger structure and that those larger, energy fields around you, and then successively smaller levels of the same shape. That is what fractals are. So, and of course, it doesn't end. You're in your toroidal structure, on a toroidal structure, in a bigger toroidal structure, in an even bigger toroidal structure. Here's how I'm going to frame that for you. You are a toroidal structure. You're a human with this energy field around you. You're on a planet which also has a toroidal structure, which is within the heliosphere, which is the sun's toroidal structure, which is within the galaxy, which is also a toroidal structure, which is within a larger structure that is almost incomprehensible in scale to humans, that is also toroidal in structure. And the amazingness about this comprehending the basics of this form and why it's so worthwhile to lavish so much time on and attention on teaching about this at the foundation of this class. Anything that you learn about on this level of reality, you can apply to the level of a planet, a sun star, a galaxy, and bigger, and also tinier, down to the level of a molecule, down to the level of an atom, down to the level of an electron, down to the level of a subatomic particle, down to the level of something that is incomprehensibly small. So if you learn about the way that energy flows in these figure 8 patterns, it's going to flow like that throughout the planet. It's going to flow like that throughout the sun and all of the sun stars everywhere. It's going to flow like that throughout the entire galaxy. You can use this fractal as a template of truth, and you can comprehend what is happening on much, much larger and smaller levels than that of merely your physical body structure or this level of individuation. Because, spoiler alert, for those who are new to the class, spoiler alert, it's all you. It's all you, down to the tiniest subatomic little thing that you can possibly imagine, and up to the grandest scale of even galaxy and beyond. Galaxy and beyond. Wah, 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 wah. That's all you. But right now you are focused on just be me, rocking back and forth. Just be me, just be me, just be me. Just be you, be a person on Earth, sitting in a chair, or whatever, standing wherever you are. But know that you are all of these levels too. So when I say the human octave, here we'll turn it up. Turn it up. Human octave, turn it up. That's the human octave, right? But you're also the galaxy. And you're also subatomic. You're all of these levels of reality. I don't know where the drum beat came from. Something just happened. I don't know why that is playing, but it's perfect. It's just perfect. Okay. So, getting back to, I think I got through all of the layers of what the colors represent, because that's important foundation knowledge stuff. I definitely got through the sense of this being universal galactic Christ consciousness, non-denominational, not affiliated with any particular earthly religion or sect, and something that is accessible to all organisms. Just in the same way that you have apertures on your physical body that allow in light, your eyes, you don't have to be a particular religious enthusiast to have eyeballs. You're like, yep, I have eyeballs and I see light with my eyeballs. You do not have to be a particular follower of a particular religion or a particular teacher who has been here in the world in order to have your pineal gland, your indigo chakra, your Christ consciousness facet of reality perception and creation activated. You can be a Hindu who is in Christ consciousness. You can be a pagan who is in Christ consciousness. You can be a person with no religious affiliation who is in Christ consciousness. My dog can be in Christ consciousness. My blade of grass outside can be in Christ consciousness. The planet can be in Christ consciousness. The sun and the stars are literally Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness literally being light or pure awareness or pure consciousness itself, the phenomenon of consciousness. So this indigo chakra right here, we are going to lavish tons of attention on there, because that is the primacy of how you perceive consciousness, how you perceive time, how you perceive and connect directly to light. That is why I say I send out my tendril of attention to the sun and the stars, because I am light connecting to light and then eating or drinking that light into me and having it flow through all of the subtle layers of my body to nourish all layers of my body. And I talked to you about mitochondria as also eating and needing and requiring light as well. So I'm squinting a little bit in order to say this. Okay. So, I didn't talk enough about your violet chakra. So if this is your indigo chakra, and this is your violet chakra, it's the highest level of what we would consider to be the slice or the octave and still be defined as human. And it is your divine connection. It is where you quote unquote plug into God or plug into divine intelligence as my light bulb. I want to say my electrons flowing in a wire. I plug into the wall. It's where I get my energy from. This is where you get your energy from. And of course, in this sharing, I'm showing it as if we're starting from like the lower part of your body and then moving up your spine and then moving up to the top of your skull over here. But literally, every single one of the cells of your body contains the totality of red through violet. So when I talk about the violet chakra, I'm not just talking about this area of your body. I am talking about a non-local aspect of your subtle body that actually is analogous to your DNA and is located in the nuclei of your cells. So it is not just on the top of your head. Your crown is spread throughout your body in the nuclei or the epicenter of every single one of your cells. That's where you plug into God. That is where you receive your divine intelligence directives from. Your DNA is a bridge of light. We'll get into that extensively in this class. I want to talk about the, you plug in up here and you get currency. Ka-ching, currency. You get paid, or you get currency analogous to like electrical currency. You get life force energy in order to keep going. Red and violet as being vertical, and OIGB as being horizontal. So your chakras are complementary. So when I show you this, I'm showing you the totality of one that is going horizontally and one that is going vertically. But when I show you this painting over here, wait, I have to squint, scroll. Wait, just bring you to this. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. That's why I bring up this painting, even though it's got some accuracies, but some inaccuracies. So violet is oriented vertically. This is what I mean by vertically. It is oriented up and down. The red chakra is also oriented up and down. It's going all the way up and down. You can see it across this whole painting. The other chakras are oriented horizontally, and they exist somewhat like the buttons on a shirt, like of a button shirt. So if I take those lines away, they actually are more like, this is where your indigo would be, this is where your light blue would be, this is where your green would be, this is where your yellow would be, and then this is where your orange would be. So now go back to me. Some of your chakras are oriented so that this is perfect actually, so that their spinning wheels are going around like this in front of you, right? But some of your chakras are oriented so that their spinning wheels are going around like this. But all of your chakras have a complement. The one that is going like this has a complement that is going like this. So they all end up looking like this. I hope that makes sense. My point for this is that the 90-degree spinning creates a gyrostabilizing effect, and your body is flying through time. So with a helicopter that flies in the sky, there are the helicopter blades that rotate similar to your violet chakra around your body. And then there is the rotor that is at the tail end of the helicopter that rotates around like this or rotates around like this. And they are at 90-degree angles, and they create a gyrostabilizing effect for that aeronautical apparatus to fly through the atmosphere. You are also receiving a gyrostabilizing effect when your chakras are in balance and when they're at these perfect 90-degree angles that stabilizes you through time. So what you're doing, this is your time body. Now it is time for me to really draw stuff out. Let's get to it. All right. So now I'm going to teach you my shorthand. Clear everything out. Clear everything out. This will be relevant to you for the rest of the entire class and, at any time that I'm talking about these things. Let's make a big fat. All right. So this is the actual physical shape. Now I'm going to teach you my shorthand. And I'm not going to use yellow because it's just too difficult to see on the screen. This is a cross section. If we have one, it's terribly drawn. Let's see if I can get it just a little bit better. If we have one chakra, and I'm drawing it in cross section, so that's what you've got. So, of course, you would have the top vortex up here like this, and the bottom vortex down here like this. And, through the magic of perspective, you can recognize that these are spiral features that have formfulness, but I'm showing you a flat cross section. These shapes are comprised of time. So down here where I am making this red line, that would be considered your birth. Time in this diagram marches forward, upward in this direction, towards this area right here, which is the wormhole, which is the entry point and exit point of reality structure. And when you are traveling through time, let's choose a good color, you are moving on a timeline that moves like this. Now I recognize that I just showed you these are time spirals that go like this. Very, very difficult for me to accurately draw many multiple time spirals. So I draw them as simplification, like long sticks that might even have a lollipop on top. And so this is where you begin. This is birth over here. And then this is how you fly through time. This is how you circulate and navigate time. This is the ultimate empowerment information that you are receiving right now, because it can be so difficult to have the perspective as a being who is submerged in time to know, like, where am I swimming? Where am I flying? What am I doing? What the heck am I doing? Where am I going? I don't know, rocking back and forth. This is showing you where you are and what you are doing and how you're moving through time. So first of all, the most important feature on this diagram is the black line that I'm drawing here. That is the path of least likelihood. And it is so called because it is the least probable alignment for you to experience. If we were to look at this diagram from the top down, now I'm drawing the outer perimeter. Now I'm drawing the central core timeline, which is the path of least likelihood. And then, over here, would be the red area where you're starting, like that red starting point. There are many, 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 many life possibilities that can happen all throughout here. Like if you were trying to throw a dart or send an arrow to this target, very, very great likelihood that you would hit there, you would hit there, you would hit there. Very, 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 very low likelihood that you would get an arrow to go directly to that dot. There's only one timeline that will align with that dot. That dot is the singularity. And I must now tell you all about the singularity, because the singularity is incredibly profound and is also at the center of all of this work. All of these other reality structures that exist over here where I'm scribbling, these are technically peripheral realities that represent aspects of your multidimensional self that are non-eternal self-stories. They are non-eternal self-stories because as they travel through this time vortex, they end on the membrane of death. This membrane here, wait, get a different color. Yeah, using every color I can, guys. This membrane here is the membrane of death. It is a boundary between realities. You cannot exit from this reality over here by going onto the membrane of death. If you are slanted at an angle, if your trajectory is like this, you're not going to get out of here. You're going to hit the membrane of death. And this is a flowing membrane of death that flows like a waterfall. So this is about the flow of time. And I'll get more into this in lesson 2. But essentially you emanate from here, which is the singularity, which is the central convergence point of all timelines, possibilities, probabilities, and everything that can possibly happen ever. Infinity. That is, instead of drawing, I'll just draw it like this. That is infinity. That spot up there is the most special magical spot in the entire world. It is the 0th dimension. 0 because it is not worth nothing. It is worth everything. In our world, when I first came here as a walk-in, back to my face. When I first came here as a walk-in and I learned about human math and I learned about human commodification, I learned that people consider 0 to be worthless. Like it is worth nothing. If you put a price tag on something like this glass of water, price tag 0, people would be like, it's worth nothing. It's worthless. And I'm like, no, 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 no. 0 is everything. 0 is not nothing. 0 is everything. So in this higher dimensional math perception, the 0th dimension is the singularity point that is the convergence of everything, that is infinity. And it is called 0 because it requires 0 amount of information to name the space-time coordinates of that place. Your space-time coordinates are like where you are and what day it is. And the space-time coordinates of the 0th dimension are infinity. Everything is there. You don't have to have an address on the letter. It is the house where everybody lives. You're like, where can I send your mail? Be like, send it to infinity. And you don't have to put an address on it. Everybody is there. And big emphasis here, everybody has singularity in your own body being. This point here is singularity. I will do a whole teaching about this. Today I'm just scratching the surface because it's such a deep topic. And if you ever have insomnia at night or just want to think deep thoughts, think about singularity. Like singularity, because there's only one singularity. That is the definition of what it is. By definition, it is single. There is only one of it in existence. And it exists at the center, at the convergence point of every single chakra or energy center in every single one of you, in every single possible version of you in multiple parallel timelines in realities, planets, photons, atoms, sun stars, galaxies. Same singularity, one infinity point in all of these different places. Kabam! Mind blown! deep stuff. I'm gonna emphasize that a lot in this class. And this is why, like, it's worth it to be a student and continually be a perennial student. Come back every year, come back every semester. Because, like, the singularity, like, there's an endless amount of wonder to be able to touch on regarding that concept. It is so deep. It is so profound. That's why I say, like, this is a foundation concept of being able to be a virtuoso genetic musician in the symphony of life. This is deep stuff, because in order to create this shape, what you actually start out with is kind of like a stretchy fabric of space-time bubble. And you stretch that fabric, like with the big giant God finger, stretch it on in like this, and stretch it on in like this, and stretch it on in like this, and stretch it on in like this. And all of these stretchings, vectors, converge perfectly. Boom, they all meet. Boom, they all meet perfectly in this balance of forces that creates a cohesive, sustained standing wave that has coherence, that doesn't evaporate or go bye-bye. So there are certain shapes in nature that have a coherence, like a soap bubble or any kind of circles. Circles are a miracle. Circles are infinity. Everyone's always like, search, dun 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 dun, the search for 0 point energy. We're searching for 0 point energy. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And I'm like, wait a minute, guys, wait, I've got it right here. It's a circle. 0 point energy is right here, guys. It's a circle. You've got it. It's known in your number system as pi. 3.14159, blah, 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 endlessly to infinity. You've got infinite energy. Of course, there's a big difference between being able to know about that and how to apply that practically to do something like make your electrons flow in a wire. Because I've got my lights over here to be able to. You can see my face while I'm on the screen. We need to have electrons flow in a wire. That's what everyone is looking for, the practical application for that infinity. You've got infinity. Circles are a miracle. You can also meditate. You have my permission. You have my encouragement to meditate upon the miracles of circles also if you are insomniac at night. You need to kind of fall asleep or something like that. The wonder of circles. It is infinity. So you have this infinity point that is the 0th dimension. That is the basis for all reality. Is actually that which all reality emanates from, and then also that which all realities emanate to. So this in your individuation, known as your life and your incarnation. One incarnation would be considered the bottom quadrant of one time vortex, where again, this layer here is birth, and this is both the source and the destination, and this boundary over here would be considered death. So in our world, death is personified as like a scary creature with a knife that will cut off your head and you will die and blood will gush. Death is impersonal. It is a force that is like a flowing waterfall. And if you are aligned in your journey like this, going at a direction, in this direction, your timeline hits the membrane of death and you die. And if you are aligned like this, going perfectly towards that central core timeline, then you do not die. You do what is called ascension, and you are on the path of least likelihood, and you reach the wormhole that is also the journey home. So here we go. I know someone's hopping in and out of the meeting. I did this little diagram for you, tilted up like this. So in the present level of reality, what's happening is you're starting from the periphery and working through your life circumstances of various different narratives that are kind of like the equation of you. And the equation of you should be a perfect divine equation, a series of events that brings you to the final inevitability of a return home for your consciousness. You came from singularity or the 0th dimension, and you return to singularity or the 0th dimension. All of the wrong notes are the event structures and consciousness perception structures that bring you towards the membrane of death. And when you hit the membrane of death, what happens is the sweater of you gets unfurled, like all of the crochet loops get pulled out. You return to being just a ball of yarn again, and you go back to the beginning. So now let me go back to my little whiteboard. So let's say, again, just reminding you that these are spiral shapes, but I'm simplifying it as a line drawing. We're going from red over here and moving upward towards this purple line, and then, sorry, I did my math homework wrong. I did not calculate correctly, and I hit the membrane of death. What happens? Over here is where you get life review, learn from the cosmic math teacher about where are there red X's on your homework. What did you do wrong? What do you have to change or fix? Your genetic sweater gets unfurled and you get whoosh, whoosh, because the membrane of death is whooshing in this direction. You whoosh all the way back to the beginning, which is this line over here, except you have a slightly different starting point. Now you're going to start over here. And that means you have a slightly different vector and a slightly different set of possibilities and probabilities that you're exploring. And you're like, equation. Thing plus thing plus thing plus thing plus thing equals, oops, the membrane of death. Oh no, I made it to the membrane of death. Here's your final moment. Learn from your mistakes, go back to the beginning and circulate back around until finally you do this many times. You do this so many times that I can't even draw it with my pen, but many, 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 many times until you finally circulate back around and you are here, which is where you are supposed to be. Path of least likelihood. This is the path of ascended mastery. And when you are on that path, you circulate through the series of events that brings you to the wormhole that is the exit for this reality. So this is not actually the ideal or intended or pristine experience of having chakras. This is the way your present reality structure has been working up until this point, but you are about to change and recalibrate and go in amazing new directions. So in ancient Atlantis, nobody died. In ancient Atlantis, everybody's chakras were perfectly straight up and down. Nobody ever hit the membrane of death. After the invasion and the genetic degradation, and this is what this class culminates in lesson 18 in many, many months, we'll talk about it much more, people's chakras went all wibble wobbly, and now sometimes you're going at an angle and you hit the membrane of death. Wah, wah. So this is Pedro. Hat tip to Pedro. Pedro is a lovely long-term returning student who first told me about, in the world of video game culture, GOTA. Game over, try again. GOTA. Wah, wah. So I really only know one video game called Pac-Man, which I think is kind of old, but that's the only one I've ever played. And Pac-Man does all these different things, and then Pac-Man dies, gets eaten, and it goes, dun, dun, game over, try again. And then you ask for another quarter. Can I put another quarter in the video game and get it going again? That is essentially what the non-ideal experience, human experience, has been. After the reduction of consciousness, after the genetic mutilations that you've experienced, fun things, genetic mutilations, no, horrible things. I'm being lighthearted, I'm sorry. Your fun genetic mutilations that you've all experienced created death, which is actually one of the primary traumas, because you were never supposed to go at these crazy angles. You were never supposed to vector at these crazy angles. You were never supposed to do bad math homework. You were all supposed to have your higher faculties totally engaged and be able to see, sense, and smell the future. And if you can sense the future, you're like, wow, if I go on that rock climbing adventure, I'm going to fall to my death. Let's not go. Or if I go on this ocean going voyage, my ship will sink and I will die. Let's not go. Or if I walk down that street, I will get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Let's not walk down that street to go a different direction. That is just on the very, very basic level of avoiding catastrophe. But also when your higher faculties are activated, you align with your highest self reality structures where you're like, let's go in the direction of painting that painting. That is a life-affirming activity that brings me to my true self. That central core timeline is not just like, how do I get out of this place? Because everyone here, like I said, I'm talking to people who are largely traumatized. And they're like, we've been through the karmic washing machine so many times. Like, how do we get out of this place? And I'm like, it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a fun adventure. You're supposed to enjoy your time here. And you're not supposed to be just like, where's the exit? Where's the exit? Like some kind of panic room or something like that, or whatever escape situation. It's supposed to be a fun, enjoyable pleasure cruise where you're like, what are the things that I am here to learn? That path of least likelihood is your path of ascended mastery, where you experience the perfect math homework of your day-to-day existence and moment-to-moment existence, doing and aligning with tasks that feed your soul. So it's not just like avoiding death. Don't do that bad thing. Don't get eaten by a monster. It is very, very much more moving towards that which feeds your soul. The things that like, I need to meet this person. Your higher guidance, supra-consciousness guides you in the direction of meeting those people. Or I need to make this particular project. This is me painting these paintings. Your highest self guides you in the direction of making those projects, having these positive life experiences, and you move through reality as life is a fun adventure. All of these things are things that help me to learn and to grow. And then when you achieve that wormhole, it's not like, hooray, I finally got out of that horrible torment. It's more like, wow, my life makes sense. Every single thing that I've ever been through is part of an amazing masterpiece. You painted every single brushstroke on the painting of your life perfectly, and it all adds up to an object of infinite beauty. And then that moment of return to source is like the varnish that you put on a finished painting. Like, I've put the finishing touches on the painting, every single molecule of paint is exactly where it needs to be, and then we're just gonna clear coat, varnish that all in, seal it all in, so that it is exactly as it is supposed to be. That is the ideal way that we are supposed to experience our chakra system and movement through time. So it is not ideal. I'm going to turn on the piano again. This is the non-ideal way of getting through time that most people you've been flying blind. You're like, I can't see SHIT. I don't know where to go. This is you. All right. This is you. All right. What's the right note? Is it this? No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, is that not it? No, that's definitely not it. No, that's not it. Death. No, death. Death. No, not it. Not it. No, not it. And so many times. And then finally, wait. That's the note I was looking for. But there's 88 keys on a piano, and you had to try 87 wrong notes to finally get to the one right note that was the right note for your life. So no, you're not supposed to have to, through hunt and peck, trial and error on the keyboard of your life, go through every single wrong possibility until you finally make it to the right possibility. That's what it's like when you're flying blind, or when you are not musically literate. When you are literate, that means that you have activated your Christ chakra, and you can see time, and you can actually be a mature galactic citizen. You can make your decisions based upon the information that comes to you. Like, what is going to be the consequence of my action? If I choose to go on that boat, is the boat going to sink? Am I going to die? Don't trial and error it. Feel it. Sense forward. You sense forward, and you're able to tell and sense what is going to happen on any particular timeline. Then you can actually make informed choices. So I really validate your sense of rocking back and forth like, too many wrong notes. Don't make me do it again. Don't make me do it again. Get me out of here. But I am really here as an otherworldly visitor to tell you that none of that was part of the brochure. This is my ideal brochure. Wait, this is the brochure that they give you before you become a person. Like, this is the reality structure that you will be inhabiting. Oh, that sounds great. You're going to get a body. You're going to maintain your divine connection. You're going to be able to see through time. You're going to be able to make great choices. You're going to be in freedom. You're going to be empowered. You're going to be able to know all these different things and have a lot of fun adventures. Sounds great. Sign me up. And then you actually come here and you're like, this is not like the brochure. That's not what is happening here. And you are correct. That is absolutely accurate. And so I'm being lighthearted in sharing with you about your profound disappointment and trauma at being in a disappointing reality structure that is a non-pristine system. But my positive news is that we are flying rainbow lasagna. This is what this class is really all about. I'm not going to teach you to be a virtuoso in one day, but I will make you aware of this capacity, that this is the return to your capacitation, your recapacitation, your genetic mutilations being fixed and healed so that you can get past any blockages that kept you at this level, prevented you from activating your higher faculties. Activating your higher faculties, actually seeing through time, and most importantly, so this is like your aperture that you use to see time. So these are my apertures that I use to see optical light. This inner eye is the aperture that I use to see time, and this is the cosmic librarian. This is the cosmic teacher. This plus this. This tells me where to look. Sometimes it tells me, look over there. Sometimes it turns my head, it says, no, look over there. And sometimes it says, you look over there for 1 second, then look over there for 1 second, then look over there for 1 second, then look over there for down second. And then you will see the true picture of reality, and then you will see true divinity in the world. So when those higher faculties are activated, you are taught by the master teacher of pure consciousness, guided in every moment of your life. Every thought that you think is a nourishing thought of pure divine intelligence, and it brings you through a series of life events that help you to evolve on a profound soul level. And that is also what it is to be a light eater, where you're not just eating random sunbeams. You eat specific sunbeams, like this photon, and then this photon, and then this piece of information, and this piece of information, and this, and that literally builds your light body and guides you through this process. The way the brochure tells you, you are supposed to be experiencing it. Very, very positive stuff. So you've had a lot of trial and error and a lot of negative things through all of the many multiple deaths that you experience just within one lifetime. And you don't just have one of these, because I've been talking about the lower quadrant of this chakra system as being one incarnation from birth to death or ascension. But you have 4 of these. You actually have many multiple ongoing incarnations. That is what your chakra system represents. You don't just have one chakra, you have 7 chakras, and you have 4 vortices of all of your chakras. And so in your sense of individuation self, you don't just have one life. The definition of you actually comprises a much, much larger multiplicity of concurrent incarnations than would traditionally be recognized. But again, sometimes that can be a bit overwhelming to know about. So sometimes you have to be like, just focus on one life. Just focus on you here now, because you here now has an almost infinite branching number of potentials of the different, like the infinite numbers of Charlie, infinite numbers of Marie, infinite numbers of Melissa, infinite numbers of Aurora. That's just in one life. But then you've got all these other lives that are concurrent time vortices that you are also navigating at the same time. So these chakras are sentient. They represent other aspects of self in the living, and time itself is sentient, the living time field. So they represent other aspects of self, and also I wanted to go in so many different directions that my brain just put the brakes on it, because I'm like, I want to say this, but I want to say this, but I want to say this. So you have many multiple concurrent incarnations. The truth is that you end up encompassing all of these possibilities. You are all of these different people, you are all of these different individuals, and that your culmination, your culminative moment happens in sync, synchronized with all of these other aspects of self who are concurrently having their own moment, their aha moment of self-realization. I will save that for slightly down the road in the semester. I have a whole beautiful teaching called the I Am God Circuit. P.S. I spent many, many hours last night uploading level 1 and migrating it from Teachable to Vimeo, because Teachable did all sorts of things with changing their pricing plan, blah, 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 blah. Don't even get me started. I had it there for 10 years, and I'm like, okay, time for me. So I had to download everything from Teachable and then save everything and then upload everything to Vimeo. It's been an epic process. And so I have level 1 of the whiteboards available to you. So every single one of these lectures that I give is sometimes faithful to my original whiteboards. Sometimes I go way off into the distance. but it's always because I'm customizing my presentation here, my live presentation, to not only the circumstances of the day, like the energetic and psychic weather report and life world events, but also the minds of the participants. I am telepathic and empathic, and I feel and sense all of you who are tuning into this. So as I'm speaking, sometimes some of you are forming questions. You're like, but wait, what about that? And I'll be like, oh, I got to talk about that because they're wondering about that. And then, but wait, what about that? I got to talk about that too. So sometimes I diverge from my notes, and sometimes I do not get everything from the whiteboards presented in the 2-hour classes. My classes are marathons. Bring your snacks, bring your Gatorade, drink your water, do your stretching, prepare for like a marathon of information flowing to you, and then take time to process it too. So it's totally worth it for you, either before class or after class, to watch the whiteboards. And thank you for being enrolled students and getting access to them. So yeah, I'm just about to send out those links that I will send out to everyone who is enrolled. I will make sure that you have the master list, which will be on Vimeo. Level 1 has 20 whiteboards. Level 2 has, I think, 18 or 19 whiteboards. And I'll make sure, because I'm still uploading level 2. So you will have 2 separate showcases, is what it's called, like a playlist on Vimeo, that each week there will be a particular whiteboard that is associated with my weekly lecture. And I invite and encourage you to watch those whiteboards because I recorded them 10 years ago, but they're super relevant. All of this stuff that I'm teaching you that is about how to navigate time is still totally relevant. It is a classic black tuxedo that never goes out of style, that will always be appropriate to wear to a formal occasion. And you will receive the level 1 stuff and then also the level 2 stuff. What I've done in order to streamline my presentation, because with this class, I used to be strict. I used to be like, no, do level 1 first, then do level 2 second. Me being strict like this. Now I'm like, no, we don't have time. We don't have any time for any kind of nonsense. Lasagna, 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 immediately. Here's everything all at once. But I don't want people to be overwhelmed, and I want people to eat things in the right order. So I do want you to like observe and respect the structure that I have the curriculum in, but I no longer make a distinction between beginners, newcomers, level 1 participants, and advanced students. And I basically give everybody access to both levels 1 and 2 all at once. So my only caveat is please eat a sensible portion of lasagna at a time, and then take time to process it so that your brains don't liquefy and drip out through your ear holes. And because it really does take time to internalize these concepts, and the process of being exposed to these ideas literally changes your DNA. And that's also teaching for a class a little bit down the road. But every time that you have an intellectual, cognitive, or emotional experience, it changes and transforms the dance of your DNA. So your DNA is not a static object, but is constantly oscillating and dancing and swirling and whirling and do-si-doing, doing all of these things. When you learn new stuff, it makes your DNA move in new patterns. And the goal of this class is for you to learn new stuff to the point that you start dancing in a new pattern, or being available to dance in a new pattern known as the flying rainbow lasagna, which is a rectification of your DNA genetic code that brings you back to your eternal self, the version of self that is the perfect math equation of who you are. Return to the original brochure of how life is supposed to be experienced, and re-empowerment of your higher faculties, so that you can know what the F you're doing as you're submerged here in time. Too often, people who are submerged in time only receive their perspective as a life review, either as a near-death experience or after their death itself. It's like you're not in the pool of water anymore. You're outside of the pool of water, kind of looking at what's going on. You're like, that's all the stuff I did wrong. I wish I had known that then. I want to do it better. Jump in the pool and do it again. That's essentially what I have taught you about today. So you're supposed to be much, much more empowered to experience your reality, knowing consciously where you want to be going, as opposed to flying blind and hunting and pecking on the keyboard. Okay, so wait, I have a few more things in my notes. So that's so I will make sure along with the archive of today's presentation to make sure that everybody gets the whiteboard links. That's why I said I stayed up late last night and worked hard this morning. I'm only halfway through level 2, but if you're in this class, just consider level 1 and level 2 are now completely smushed together, and that you are just a combined conglomerate, and you are able to access things as in whatever order you would like to. But I encourage you to watch them in the order that I present them, because they do make a lot of sense when you go through it in order. All right, but I still have a few more things to get through in my notes. One other minor aspect of housekeeping is I have collated my notes as of last August, I think is when I did it, into a PDF, which is just part of this class, and I make it freely available. Like if anybody wants to send me a donation, it is received in gratitude, but I put that information out there in a written form because I also felt like this is pretty important stuff, and I don't just want to sit on it or keep it only for me. But I did initially write these lecture notes only for me, which is why they are highly ungrammatical. Also, I am not very good at language. I just have to tell you that. I am really, really good at speaking with diagrams and pictures, and I'm also really good at speaking with music and making songs that are about stuff, but not that good with grammar and spelling. So my lecture notes are mostly sentence fragments and have many spelling mistakes. If you can wade through that, many people find value in them because we have different pathways through which we receive information. There's the visual, of course, you're looking at my diagrams and my paintings. There's auditory, you're listening to my voice and you're hearing my music. And there is also through the written word, which is its whole own level of cognitive ability. That I think when we stimulate these 3 pathways, there's also tactile sense, which I would love it if each one of you had a lasagna to be able to feel it and feel and experience the shape. And also, I do a dance movement group that is also tactile. That is another way of learning. That is, a very advanced aspect of direct lasagna experience. When you stimulate these various different neurological pathways, it really makes the information stay inside of you. It comes from various different directions and has various different qualities, and your body perceives it and receives it, and it comes inside of you. So like anything, like when you learned your ABCs when you were probably a little child, you learned it by tracing letters like on a letterboard, or like looking at magnets or flashcards and singing the song A, B, C, D. Like you did all of these things in order to learn, the alphabet. It's in there. You're not going to forget it. It's not going to go away. You have a million different cognitive pathways that you have energized to contain that information. That is how I try to do my class as well, that it is a multisensory perception and experience, so that you can deeply internalize these truths that are actually aspects of your own anatomy. I am teaching you about things that are the truest nature of your own being, that are highly relevant to your journey, your multi-dimensional journey, and also your spiritual attainment. I will consistently point at this painting over here, your spiritual attainment as it is tied up in and entangled with and resting upon the attainment of our entire planetary structure, change and redefinition of our entire world narrative, and sun, stars, light everywhere, and the living time field. Big stuff. So I'll always send out my notes. The notes are, that's a long sentence to say. The short sentence is, my notes are available, everyone, and you can read them. So they're in a PDF that I call the FRL Flight Manual. And I'll include that in the archive email for this class, and also in the video description of what I'm doing here today, so that way people can access it. So it's worth reading through my notes, because sometimes I go aside, sometimes I go askew, and sometimes I sing show tunes, and I don't always get to everything that is important in my notes, so it's worth reading through there. So here's a few last things that I want to tell you before I wrap up for today, because also I don't want to inundate you too much. Some people are like, no, more lasagna. And I love those people. I sense you out there. You are fantastic. You know, like when you're like, whatever, grandma, like a Jewish or a Greek grandma, you're like, people who want extra helpings, you're like, thank you. I approve. You're a good guest. You can come back again. Those who want extra helpings of lasagna, I'm like, thank you. Thank you for being in my class. But I want to give you time to internalize these. And then there's always next week and the subsequent Wednesdays for the next 8 months that we will gather for this. This chakra system represents a refinery and a learning process or an evolution process for pure consciousness, which is who you are as a soul. And when I talk about who you are as a soul, like how do I define soul? How do I define consciousness? Consciousness is an abstraction, an abstract phenomenon of sentience and self-awareness. Your soul is particular and unique to you, and it represents the story or narrative structure of all that you have been through on your journey as consciousness. So consciousness is, technically we are all consciousness. That is what unity consciousness is, the recognition and reclamation of that viewpoint. Like, I am consciousness, therefore I'm that blade of grass, and I'm that tree, and I'm that person, and I'm me, and I'm also water, and I'm also the planet. Yes, you are consciousness, and you also are your soul, which is a unique journey, which is to say, I lived as a butterfly. Then I transformed into this. Then I transformed into this. Then I transformed into a human being. And my name is, and I always joke about this, my name is John Smith, or my name is Sally Smith, and I live on Main Street. This is my favorite sweater, and this is who I am. And that's truthful. And that your soul is the unique story of whom you have been through these various different incarnations, even though we're beginning to comprehend from this that it is not a linear journey. It's a non-linear journey, but your journey nonetheless is unique to you, and you are on your journey for the purpose of refining your characteristics, refining your sense of self, refining meaning who you are and whom you are not. When you have a refinery for metal or something like that, a substance, what you do is you put like raw ore metal into a giant cauldron, and then you bubble it out and you skim off the stuff that's not supposed to be there, and you purify it, and you come out with the refined metal that is the pure sense of that substance. That is exactly what this shape does. And this shape that is a refinery of consciousness is refining the characteristics that you are not out of existence. All of the stuff that's at the periphery, all of the timelines that end on the membrane of death, that's not the real you. It's not the real you. Those aren't the real narrative stories of who you are. Those aren't the real math equations of who you are. Those aren't the real substances of how your body is shaped. That's not the real you in reality. Those are peripheral aspects of self that exist in the same analogy as the wake of a waveform. Like when a boat goes through water, you have the boat moving through water like this, like up my face. Then you have the waves that are created consequentially from the vector of the boat moving across the water. The waves are inconsequential. They are not intentional. They are the side dish to the main movement of your consciousness on its soul's journey. So this stuff that is over here at the periphery that ends in death, that is not the truthful intention of your life experience. That's why I tell you about, in the ideal world, the pristine world, the world of Atlantis, the world that I inhabit and am familiar with, nobody ever hit the membrane of death because we all vectored on our ideal timeline. We didn't explore any of the parallel irrelevancies that are created as a side effect of your movement through time, your intentional movement through time. No wrong notes on the piano. But here in this world, everybody's experiencing their wrong notes, wrong reality notes. And sometimes the characteristics that you are refining out in this refinery of experience, it's not like, oh, you were a bad person on those parallel timelines, you deserve to die. You can tell by my facetious face and my silly voice that I don't believe in that at all. There's a lot of blame and shame in this world. That's why I have to make fun, make light of it. No. Those who die and the versions of yourself who die are still good people. It's just you did your math homework wrong. You calculated wrong. And so, there's a version of you that died when you were born, like 1 minute after you were born, because maybe you turned your head wrong in the birth canal and got suffocated by your own umbilical cord. That's it. One little thing. You're not a bad person at all, but you gestated 9 months in the womb and then got strangled before you got to be here for 1 minute. This is you. You're like, I can't believe I did that whole thing of gestating in the womb for 9 months and then had 1 minute on earth. Like, I am not okay with this. And then you're like, give me another chance. It's kind of like, you know, like you get to the sidelines of the game when you die. You're like, coach, this isn't fair. Put me back in. It's like, okay, kid, get back in there. Try it again. That's it. And then sometimes it's like not even your fault. Sometimes you get born and then the nurse drops you on your head. It's like, that's not fair. I just got born. The stupid nurse dropped me on my head. Put me back in. Coach is like, get back in there, kid. And then sometimes it's just through learning your body processes. Your body has to learn a ton about the microbial world. When you're a little tiny infant, you have to learn how not to get body infections. Your body, that's why little kids have green boogers all the time. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old neighbor, no children of my own, but I have neighbors who are these little kids. They always have a stream of green mucus coming out of their nose. Their bodies are busy learning how not to die. So it's not even a cognitive event. Their bodies and their biomicrobes have to learn who is a friend and who is a foe. Lactobacillus is your friend. That you have to learn how to digest food. Food goes in your tummy. Lactobacillus digests it. You are still alive. Amoebic dysentery is not your friend. And if it comes inside of you, you need to attack it immediately and get it out of you. Otherwise, you will die. And same thing with many different viruses. Also, we can talk about germ theory and viruses and all these different things. I know it's a fascinating topic, but let's just say you have to learn friend from foe in the microbial world. That's also what a lot of this is, because you die when you're 3 years old because you contracted a disease and you get to the sidelines. You're like, coach, it's not fair. It was a microbe. It's a microbe. Learn, do better next time. Get back in there, kid. And then only when you hold on a second. Let me just close my door. Hold on 1 second. Only as you are beginning to reach adulthood, and maybe the teenager time as well, does it begin to be a refinery of consciousness that is really based more in your characteristics and your cognitive decision-making capacitation, that you stay alive by making better decisions. And you die less because you start to learn. You learn how to control your musculoskeletal body, you've learned about your microbiome, and you also start to learn how to navigate the world, where you're like, oh, that's a dangerous thing to do. Don't do that thing. Don't do that thing. Because sometimes you're like, hey, you're a kid. You're like, maybe I should ride my bicycle very dangerously over that cliff. Don't do that thing. And also there are messages that come to us from the peripheral selves, that from the membrane of death, you might sometimes send a telepathic message to yourself as you are still alive. Say, don't ride your bike over there today, self. That is dangerous, and if you do that, you will end up over here on the membrane of death where you do not want to be. So we do retain some aspect of the negative information of doing your math homework wrong to inform the next existence. If this sounds somewhat like the brilliant comedic movie Groundhog's Day, it's because it is. In that movie, Bill Murray plays the central character who is forced to relive Groundhog's Day, February 3rd, over and over in these endless time loops until he learns, grows, and is refined. But for him, the refinery is not merely don't ride your bike over a cliff. For him, the refinery is a refinery of his consciousness as a person and his characteristics. He has to learn how not to be like a big butthead and how to be a much, much more compassionate and nicer person. And so he spends an endless amount of time circulating through that one day, doing it wrong, boom, you die, come back again. Doing it wrong, boom, you die, come back again. He goes through existential dread. He's like, I can't do this anymore. And he just kills himself. He's like, wakes up, kills himself, wakes up, kills himself. But he keeps coming back. And so at a certain point, he's like, look, the only way I'm going to get out of here is by getting to be a better person. That is when he starts to actually do the refinement activity that leads him to his own freedom. So for mostly in your life, you're learning how not to die is just a very biomechanical aspect of it. But then at a certain point, you're learning how not to die becomes more about refining your characteristics, who you are as a person and who you're not as a person. And this becomes far different than just like running away from death, running from a saber-toothed tiger, running away from death by accident or misadventure or microbe. And more importantly, most importantly, running towards the activities, personality, characteristics, and who you are as a person, that's your true eternal self. Who you are as a person, that is your true eternal self. The life experiences, the interpersonal dynamics, the things that you do for others. Like, how do you exist within your community? Those things are essential aspects of the refinery of your consciousness on a soul level. Because when you get to this point of coming up the central core timeline and you return here and you put that final varnish on the perfect masterpiece of your life, it's like you played a perfect symphony, played every symphony, every note was perfectly fine. That involved a lot of other people and other organisms. One of the things I like about the Bill Murray movie, he aces that last day. He's like, that's that guy who's gonna hurt himself. He kind of like swings by, stops that guy from hurting himself, gives that guy a sandwich, goes by over here, goes by. He's like, ding, 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 doing all the right stuff, helping people out. A big part of our definition. We're talking about becoming an ascended master. The path of least likelihood is how you become an ascended master. It's how you ascend. A lot of it has to do with hitting perfect notes of, you could call it righteousness, doing the right stuff. And that is what it is to be a virtuous virtuoso. You are in a living time field. You are in a live presence, navigating in a live set of realities, of possibilities and probabilities. You want to energize the reality structures that bring you to longevity and coherence, continued eternal life, and that also keep the entire structure alive. And that might mean, ding, give that guy a sandwich, ding, a kind word to this person that uplifts them over here, ding, save this kid from getting in a car accident over here, and then play a symphony on the piano, and then, cook a beautiful meal. Like, these are the things that you do that define your life as your best life, your best version of life. And now I'm going to bring it all out to the giant cosmic conclusion, because this is you navigating through this shape in your life, but our planet is doing the same thing. Our planet has a multiplicity of possibility structures and is busy navigating them. On some of them, there's like nuclear war, kablooey. No, on some of them, it's like hit by an asteroid, kablooey. On some of them, it's like mass die-off, extinction events, volcanoes everywhere, all these different things. And on some of them, it's bucolic wonder, a pastoral, perfect scene, an Edenic scene of plants and animals living in perfect harmonic states of health and well-being. And that would be the planet as an ascended master, as an ascended planet. And then you think about the sun and the stars as similar structures that are moving through their evolution process of reality creation, the sun creating and sustaining biological life on various different planets, creating solar systems, being a part of the stellar network, being a part of the larger galactic system of consciousness, learning and evolving with each timeline or time experience, and then finding its best version of self, which that is your eternal self. Your eternal self, if you are a star system or a planet or an individual person or a blade of grass or an atom, is the best version of who you could be in reality. That's who you want to be. And you want to like varnish that, like shellac it, like keep that, freeze frame. Keep that version of me. That's who I really am. You know what I mean? Yes. So in my notes, I'm going to wrap it up soon, but in my notes, I talk a lot about refinery of consciousness also relating to food. So I just talked on like the most esoteric, abstract level of you aligning with certain events and characteristics that are the true you. In the more energetic level, your body system and your chakra system is a refinery of energy that comes in some sense from the higher dimensional, less dense realms. Wait, the sculpture is going to fall. And I already glued it together one time. I don't have to glue it again. Balancing precariously. Higher dimensional, less dense realms, energy impulses come and circulate through you. And what does that feel like? It feels like a cognitive event. You get ideas and directives and energetic insights that come from the sun and the stars and pure light and pure consciousness, and it comes through your chakra system until it hits your intellect, and you're like, aha, I'm having a cognitive event, but you actually had a cognitive event that preceded that, and then it tumbles forward to become a cascade of emotions, and the emotion also includes neurotransmitters, and then also a physical event that can be like doing stuff in reality. That can be like, like I had this thought and it gave me feelings, then I did stuff. But your refinery of consciousness also can include the sensory sensations that you ingest, anything that you ingest in the physicality realm, that you then turn from an analog signal into a digital signal that you can broadcast back to the sun and the stars. And I should say from an analog signal into an abstract signal, since we have so much baggage now about transhumanism, computer stuff, software stuff, and what the word digital means. You change your, refine your experience of the physical world, which is an analog experience, like an analog record. That's a record that is like an old-fashioned Led Zeppelin record that is black and has a big long groove in it, and it is read by an analog needle going through little tiny ridges in that groove that amplify and go to a speaker. That is an analog of the music that you're hearing. You have an analog, like your taste buds, taste stuff, but then you turn it into an abstract, which is a neurological signal. You turn it into an abstract, which is a waveform of consciousness that can then be broadcast back to the sun and the stars, who do not have tongues or taste buds at all, but who want to know what it's like for you to be at home, like eating an ice cream cone. So that's a perfect example of what we are here to do. We are here to have sensory experiences. We are photon feelers of the sun and the stars. You are light that is slowed down to the presence of matter, and you are here to have sensory experiences, some of which are auditory or visual, some of which are gustatory and olfactory, eating and smelling stuff. And that's a big part of what you do. So when you eat stuff, like I'm going to eat some ice cream, I'm having a physical sensation. First of all, it goes into your tummy over here. This is below my navel, where you have your small intestine. And your small intestine is also where you create abundant amounts of neurotransmitters, which are emotional facilitators in your body, facilitate emotional signaling in your body. And it is also where you have a lot of microbes that you are in partnership with for being able to unlock the nutrients of that particular sensation. And then that glucose, that is solidified light. Take my Path of Light class, guys. It's great. I'm going to restart in a couple of weeks. The glucose is solidified light, and when you are able to turn that glucose back into energy through the Krebs cycle in your cellular respiration of your body, then it becomes energy that you can use to fuel your brain and create cognitive events. Like, I think about stuff. I eat ice cream, which is a physical stuff. It gives me feeling structures. It turns into available energy in my body and makes it possible for my brain to work so I can think about stuff and be sentient. And then what you do is you send it through the clearinghouse of your heart, which is unconditional love, which is acceptance. And acceptance is very similar to Pac-Man. It's the only video game I know, guys. I'm telling you. In Pac-Man, there's these little white dots, and Pac-Man eats the dots one dot at a time. That is technically what love is. Love, the love tone, is when you eat time one moment at a time. It is actually a very, very profound teaching to do that. Mostly humans with our mind and memory capacity and cognitive capacity are not focused in the present moment now. Mostly humans are focused on the past, all the stuff that's happened. Imagine all the things you can think about, like that birthday card I didn't send in 3rd grade. And then also the anticipating the future. All the stuff I got to get done, got to do the laundry, got to do the this, got to do the that, got to finish this. And also anticipating, I'm anticipating and grasping for the future. I got to do this stuff, I got to do this stuff, but also all of the stuff in the past that's weighing me down. And what happens is you are kind of dispersed across the expanse of time, grasping into the future, but also being dragged down by the past. You could think of the past as like your long hair is blowing back behind you. Like, these are all the things that you've done. You have this big, long, giant, length of hair or tangled dreadlocks behind you. That is all the events that you've been through in time. And it's actually very, very incredibly profound to just focus your consciousness on this moment now, and to decontextualize yourself by disengaging from both the present, my brain didn't go to my mouth, both the past and the future. To say it again, to disengage from both the past and the future, and be focused completely 100% on the present moment now. That is what unconditional love is. That is when you are in love with the cosmos. That is when you are in a love partnership with God. That is when you are in love with time. And that is also one of the most magical and empowering levels of self-cultivation that you can experience. It's why in human history, getting to the level of green was considered to be only for special people. Like all the rest of you, focus on survival, dig a ditch, shovel, SHIT, get stuff done, and just make life happen. And then only certain people could be like, I'm focusing on the moment now. I'm focusing on the moment now. Focusing on the moment now. So it's huge in our present level of cultural context to be able to focus on the moment now, achieve mastery, and also get tasks done in your life that lead to longevity and eternal life. Because if you don't make food or clean your house, you're going to die, all right? You have to clean your body and have hygiene. You have to eat your food and clean your dishes. You have to do all of these things and be in the present moment now. So it's not just for renunciates who do not have any physical responsibilities. As many people in monasteries, their responsibility is to meditate all day long. Like they're not gonna be doing other stuff, but sometimes they do. But for many of us, we do not have that life experience right now. But what we can do is be like Pac-Man. You eat one moment per moment. I try to eat one moment per moment if I am preparing my food and doing my dishes, or if I am doing one of my many multiple side gigs, because I have many side gigs, or doing the tasks that I love, like my art and my music. I try to eat one moment per moment, being focused in the moment now. Because when you do that, you concentrate all of your energy on the moment now, and you are not dispersed across time. And it is hugely empowering. And you also send a stronger cognitive signal to yourself as abstraction, as the self-consciousness. Apologies for the barking. Joked about that happening like clockwork. Very predictable. And then trying to kind of get back on my on my track. Eating one moment per moment, and that is what it is to be in the state of love, and that tone of love then gives you gas in your car to be able to activate these higher faculties that lead to the direct cognitive connection between your sensory experience and the sun and the stars and pure light that emanates you. So when you are doing one moment per moment, you're a clearer conduit to connect to God, the divine presence, and all suns, stars, and all light everywhere. Wait, let me just scroll to my notes one more time to make sure. No, press the right button. Okay. So for example, when you're eating that ice cream cone and you're focused completely on that moment, just completely on the sensation of the ice cream cone, completely on the sensation of that moment, the sun and the stars receive your information as a real-time broadcast. Not only the sun and the stars, but also the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, all black holes everywhere, and beyond. So it is essential to begin cultivating that level of yourself, and that is part of the refinery of your consciousness, that you're taking these larger, for lack of a better word, gross signals, or not gross that they're disgusting, but like less refined signals, the stuff of reality, and you are refining it through the neurology and energy centers of your chakras back to the source that emanated you. That's your job. It's your job, Joy. It's what you're supposed to do while you are here. So I want everybody to, like, if you haven't eaten your dinner yet or whatever, like when you're eating your dinner, I don't have ice cream for dinner, but have something healthy. But whatever you're eating for your dinner, be like, I'm going to be a conduit sending this information and energy back to the sun and the stars that created my food, created the tableware that I'm eating off of, created molecular structure that is upheld here, created the oxygen that is making it possible for me to cellularly respirate and derive energy from this glucose. I'm going to send that back as a signal of what my existence is like in real time. And the sun and the stars benefit from this because we are photon feelers. And the sun and the stars is like, wow, like someone down there is eating an ice cream cone or whatever, but eating some falafel. That's what that tastes like. And then that is informative to the sun and the stars. And then also the sun and the stars, they can fine tune the possibility and probability structures that are sent out to you, because this is a fluid structure. The energy is constantly flowing through this structure. It is a structure that is made out of possibilities and probabilities, and what you are being offered in each moment as a possible future is constantly shifting. That's why when you activate your higher faculties, it's not like reading a book where all of the pages are static and the book has been written and the book has been printed, boom, that's it, you're done, and you're just going to read through it. When you activate your higher faculties, you're actually reading a book that changes and shifts and rearranges itself as your eyes fall upon the page, as your eyes scan across a word. All of these possibilities and probabilities for your life change and shift in each moment. And this is also why prophecy and seeing and oracles are really not accurate, and you should have some yellow caution flags, because the future is ever changing. As soon as I make a prediction to you, like you are going to have falafel for dinner, that was accurate when I said that, but then you come to me later, you're like, no, Aurora, it was ice cream. I'm like, but it was accurate when I told you falafel, and then you changed it because reality structures change. That's what you have to know, and everything changes reality structures, including learning something new, thinking something new, or being exposed to new concepts or experiences. And that is what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is all about. So every time I lasagna, the future changes. Every time you make a new decision, it's like, the future just changed. Every time anyone anywhere makes a new decision, the future just changed. A worm just made a new decision. I'm not going to tunnel this way. I'm going to tunnel this way. Reality just changed. Reality is ever changing. It's an incredibly complex, quote unquote, biological supercomputer that we are a part of. And it takes an enormous amount of virtuosity to be able to navigate this ever changing, ever shifting levels of probability and possibility. So what I just described to you is also mindful eating. Whatever you are going to eat for dinner, I want you to be a taste bud on the tongue of God. I want you to really feel and sense and focus on that. And it's a really good practice. I know not everyone can do it all the time, because sometimes we eat while we're watching Netflix, or you're eating in the car, or you got 12 million other things that you have to do. If you can, set aside time for the activity of eating. How long does it take to eat your dinner? It's usually like 10 minutes. Doesn't take that long. Just eat. Just focus on the sensation of eating the food. That is what mindful eating is. And what you're doing is not only sending those signals back to the sun and the stars, you are sending those signals to your chakras, who are a series of alive beings. Light is alive, light is sentient. This is actually you as the higher, wiser, ascended version of you that is multidimensional and that doesn't have a mouth anymore. And what you're actually doing is being a beautiful partner and feeding that experience of physical analog food to the non-embodied, non-physical aspect of pure light self that is partnered with and is embodied with you. Very, very good stuff. Like, eat some sushi and be like, I am imprinting upon this. This is so amazing, and sending it to myself as a higher, ascended, highly refined aspect of pure energy form, like that is metamorphosed into pure energy, that does not get to eat sushi anymore. But I'm like, this stuff is amazing. You should taste this. Wasabi is incredible. And that is, but you don't say it with your mind. You just live it. That is what it is to have your heart open, that you are an open conduit. And this is, of course, partnership with your own highest self. Not any energetic interlopers. We haven't even gotten to the pooties yet. Those pesky occupiers of the interstices, or anybody that comes between you and the sun and the stars. We're just here in this moment. We're teaching you Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and teaching you the very, very basics of chakras. But yes, chakras have been hijacked. Yes, sometimes they are infected. Yes, sometimes they've got entities or stuff in there that's not supposed to be in there. We don't want to feed those entities. But we do want to feed your coherent light family that is actually, spoiler alert, yourself in the future, including the sun and the stars and all light everywhere. So I think I got it. I think I got everything that I need to say. I will send out the notes. Now I open that. Hooray! Cheers! It's almost time to throw your books and pencils out the window and run outside and play, kids. Now I go through all the chats. I have to squint and scroll. I can read, but I just have to come really close. Okay, so back over to here. Okay, so Lucy actually has a question about my Saturday class. So the Saturday class is energetic anatomy drawing. It's going to be at 12 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be 3 hours. And again, it was something that I publicized last month, but had difficulty in getting my circle templates cut in the right amount of time. So if you want to, you can still hop on board. Patrons do not have to pay any additional fee. Other people, I ask that you pay some tuition. If tuition is an issue, just ask for a scholarship, but I won't be able to get you your templates on time. But if you want to order templates, it's $75 for a set. So that it's those acrylic templates in a set of 7 of them, 12 inches, 6, 4, 3, 2.4, 2, and 1.7. Alternatively, if you would like to participate in the class without purchasing the templates, yes, you can do so. You can either cut your own templates out of like mat board, like framing mat board, or some other, like a positive, substance that you can create, or you can work with a compass. And it's just easier to work with templates, but I've drawn many, many drawings with a compass, but you just might labor a little bit because it's kind of like, where do I put the middle and where do I put the periphery and how do I make this thing, as you have to coordinate a lot with your hands, just sometimes a lot, and sometimes it's just a bit easier, more fun, and cool to be able to do it with templates. But yes, you can still participate. So I'll keep the sign up link, there will be enrollment link for that in the video description, and I'll also send it along for anyone who is who wants to be a part of it. But if you're already patrons, like, you don't have to pay an additional tuition, like, you're already supporting my work, so I thank you very much for that. Okay, thank you. Lucy had to step out. You got it. Absolutely. You're very welcome. Lisa Metro is saying, thank you for everything. Heart expanding. So grateful for you and Flying Rainbow Lasagna. You are very welcome. Thank you for being in my class. Thank you for that beautiful recognition. Melissa says, how likely are meteors or asteroids with our planet's magnetosphere, Van Allen belt, and an atmosphere to protect? So I don't know how I could talk about likelihood, like, 1 in a million chance or 1 in 10 billion chance. But I would say, like, if we didn't have the magnetosphere, our entire planet would look like the surface of Earth's moon. We would have very little atmosphere. We would have tons of craters everywhere. We would get beamed all day long, all the time, with all of this type of cosmic debris. So as it is right now, we get beamed with tons of everything, but most of it burns up. Some of it gets deflected in our magnetosphere. Some of it burns up in our atmosphere. And sometimes Jupiter takes the hit for us. So blah, blah, blah. Our whole entire solar system is a family that is harmonically calibrated, and Jupiter has an enormous magnetosphere, much, much bigger than Earth's, and a lot of the debris that enters into our solar system would come into the inner planets, which is where we are, but for the activities of Jupiter, who kind of is like running defense for us. And is like a giant linebacker. It's like, don't worry, like, I'm going to stand here and I'll take the hits for you so that you can do what you need to do in the inner planets. So yeah, Jupiter has taken many comets, has allowed a lot of different types of space debris to hit it instead of come to us. So I can't really speak in terms of likelihood, but what I could also say is that has to do with the many different peripheral selves of Earth. That Earth has many peripheral selves that, some of them, the planet gets completely obliterated because of a giant space debris, that whatever turns Earth into fragments instead of a holistic planet anymore. And that's a peripheral self. It's like, that would be like equivalent of if you woke up in the morning and like an alligator fell into your bed through the bedroom window and ate your face off and you died. Like, that can happen, but very, very unlikely. But it could happen. So these are far outliers. And Earth also has a very strong self-agenda not to die. And die, die would be like becoming fragments of space dust. Die would also be like losing the biosphere. Do you understand? Like, we are a part of Earth. We are a part of Earth's journey. Our lives and our success as ascending beings is intimately tied to the cognitive and spiritual event of Earth, the planet, becoming reconnected to divine capacitation and re-empowered in terms of reality structure creation. And that Earth is totally uncompromising in that, like, Earth is going to get re-empowered, because Earth at this point has been hijacked and diminished. Our DNA has been hijacked and diminished. You get to Flying Rainbow Lasagna and re-empower yourself. The more of us that re-empower ourselves, the more that our entire planetary structure gets re-empowered towards dreaming a better dream. Humanity has been disempowered and in many ways cut off from imagination, reality creation, direct reality manifestation, and has been living a nightmare of out of control, a sense of being out of control of the events that are happening, rocking back and forth, feeling very traumatized, when what humanity is supposed to do is be able to feel like, wow, like, I'm an empowered divine co-creator. I make stuff happen. I experience stuff and I make stuff happen. I get to make the things happen that I want to have happen. And when we do that, our entire planetary structure changes. Everything changes, like the way that humans do money and the way that humans do economy relates to planetary health and planetary empowerment, because that's like, why is there the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico? Why did all these dolphins die? Because of the way that humans do their stupid economy, and because of the way that what they think is possible or not possible with money and, achieving resources, and the way that they disseminate those resources throughout the world. So money as a fiction that creates nightmare reality structures that the planet then suffers through, because that oil spill has to do with the planetary health. Like, the ocean is the blood of the planet, and then getting a bunch of toxicity in the blood of the planet. So our journeys are intimately tied together, and all of these reality structures that we're trying to create for an ideal paradise state on the planet have to do with humans reclaiming empowerment, and the planet reclaiming her empowerment, because the planet dreams a dream too, and the planet hasn't been empowered to dream a good dream for a very long amount of time. So my reassurance to you is that the planet is not dreaming of the peripheral realities of getting hit by a meteor, asteroid, comet, or even whatever, dark planet, Nibiru, any of these things, Planet X, any of these types of considerations, because those things are out there. Like, all of those things exist. It's like swimming in a giant ocean. Like, there's a lot of monstrous, toothy things that want to eat you out there. That exists. But it doesn't mean that they are going to. And you have to live your life to the fullest. And so Earth has an intention that is very strong to transcend any dangers and difficulties and return to a true sense of joyous creation, artistic creation, divine co-creation and empowerment that is fractally, microcosmically reflected in the lives of the individual inhabitants of Earth, including you and me and dolphins and butterflies and everyone. So the answer is, it actually is the least likely thing that can possibly happen. Planetary ascension and mass ascension is actually the least likely thing that can possibly happen, because we're talking about everyone achieving the path of least likelihood, everyone going from a sense of their chakras being tilted to their chakras being in perfect alignment. It's an incalculable improbability. It is almost infinitely improbable, but that is one of the probabilities that happens at infinity. At infinity and at the singularity point, even the most unlikely thing can happen. And the most unlikely thing can happen can be a snap your fingers, instantaneous, positive improvement. So I want everyone to hold that vision, because, again, I speak to you through your layers of trauma and the negativity that you've experienced from catastrophes, where in one day a lot of bad stuff happened. In one day, you can lose a civilization. In one day, you can have a lot of people die. In one day, you can have a huge amount of destruction and catastrophe. In one day, people say Rome wasn't built in a day. Like, you can't build an empire in a day. But I'm like, can you envision what it would be like to have a rectification event in one day? In one day, to have all pollution cleared out from Earth, all pollution cleared out from the human body, all human genetic negative tendencies of disease and death being healed and rectified, all negative reality structures being cleared out, everything and all energy and all matter that is out of place. So that's Eoop and Moop, energy out of place and matter out of place, getting into place in one day. And if you can envision that, that is the least likely thing that can happen. And it actually exists at infinity. And you can be a part of it by being at infinity, by being at the singularity. That is part of, that's the non-transhumanist singularity. But the infinite stretching of the fabric of the space-time continuum and consciousness, space-time, I say STC, space-time consciousness continuum. So in my notes, I often abbreviate it as STC. The infinite stretching of that place into that point means that the zeroth dimension contains that as well. The possibility for an instantaneous improvement. That's what our planet is really envisioning. That's what I'm really envisioning and aligning with. That's what all the cells of my body are envisioning and aligning with as well. So we don't have to have a nuclear war. We don't have to have an artificial intelligence takeover, alien invasion. We don't have to have the Terminator. We don't have to have all these bad science fiction stories. We don't have to have Zombieland. We can actually have a day when all of these things transform largely from the recapacitation of your higher faculties. Because once these faculties come awakened, you will clear out all pollution in this world before you even make coffee for breakfast. You're going to wake up in the morning and be like, from my bed, like, let's clear out all of those nasty chemtrails. Now let's clear out all of that horrible, heavy, lead waste or something like that. Hold on a second, guys. Let's clear out all of that heavy metal toxic waste. Let's clear out the Gulf of Mexico, clear all of that stuff out, clear all of that stuff out. Okay, now time to clear out all of these erroneous social structures, clear out all of these negative timelines. And now, let's get up and get out of our pajamas and make some coffee. And I'm ready to have my real day now. That's what it's going to be like. And then the rest of your real day is about the amazing things that you can create from that state of freedom and uplift that might be almost unimaginable to you in your present state. So beautiful comments over here. Pedro, as always, says, love the lasagna. Oh, okay. I hope you were able to hear my answer to your question, Melissa. If not, catch it in the archive. Pedro always says, love the lasagna. Thank you, Pedro. Love back to you. And thank you for your great acronyms. Pedro gets credit for game over, try again, GOTA, even though he says that is not something he initiated. But he came up with pooties, the pesky occupiers of the interstices, and a couple of other really great analogies that I stole from him. So thank you for being in my class. And hat tip to you. Melissa says, thank you, much love, love back to you. And Trish says, the inevitable, in talking about that one day that I'm talking about. You got it, Trish. You understand that it is, although the least likely thing that can possibly happen in terms of this sudden shift towards positive reality structure, it is inevitable. And it can be considered when you explore the 87 wrong keys on your synthesizer, your piano, you finally get to the right key. That is inevitable because you have explored all of the wrong reality structures. She says the one truth. That is absolutely correct. You get to the correct, truthful reality structure, having explored all of the crappy periphery, but you weren't, according to the brochure, intended to explore the crappy periphery, but it has happened. But it's like, okay, great, we got that out of the way, we did all the wrong things, now it is inevitable to do the right thing. And so you may think of yourself as an inevitability particle. It is truthful. Everything exists at the zeroth dimension, everything exists at the singularity. You exist there. I exist there. We all exist there in this perfect reality, moving faster than the speed of light. We're at infinite speed, infinite intelligence, infinite heat, infinite hotness, infinite fastness. And we are inevitably there because everything is there, except, of course, for the stuff that is not supposed to be there, which exists at singularity, at entropy. That's for a different class, because that will take me several hours to talk about. So that was your little amuse-bouche for what is going to come up later in the semester. So thank you very much, guys. I'm going to wrap it up for right now. Here's how the semester is going to go. This was level 1, lesson 1. Next week, I will do level 2, lesson 1. And I'm going to switch back and forth, and that's how I've been doing it. You are mishmashed together at this point. You are in an amalgam of level 1 and level 2, so I don't make a distinction, and that just feels right in terms of the cognitive processes that are going on. So next week will be level 2, lesson 1. I will send out the whiteboards for both levels to everyone. Eat sensible bites of lasagna. Take time to digest. I love you very much. Thank you for being with me in this class. Thank you for attenuating with your tendril of attention. Thank you for being great students with your own great minds and your own great genius, and for being here. You uplift me profoundly by being here. Trish says, beautiful, thank you. And Christina, thank you for being here, says, beautiful message as always. Thank you so much, Aurora. You are very, very welcome. Yeah, I'm so pleased. I say this truthfully. I have the best students in my class. I'm so pleased to be connected to you as a group of beings who are on your journey. And also you have amazing hearts and amazing intellects, and just feel like a wonderful group, a community. We have formed a wonderful community here around these concepts. So also that's one other thing I should remind and share about. There is a Discord chat room. I don't necessarily like the word Discord, but that is the brand of the name of it. There's no fee to participate, and I make it available to students of this class, and some really wonderful conversations and deep stuff goes on there beyond my Patreon page, because on Patreon, I post and others comments, but in the Discord, you can post and share and chat and really form good social connections with other people that are on their journey and that have a similar level of awareness. And because some people feel like they're the only sane person in a crazy world. I'm like, no, there's a whole group of sane people that are in my Discord chat. So yeah, I will make sure that that is shared as well. So thank you so much for being on board. And customarily, as I do every week, I say, you know something, now I need to go WALK someone over here. They're sleeping in their dog bed, but almost always, because it's such a cloudy, crappy day, but almost always someone is the master teacher, and she's like, wait, I need W, so I have to spell it out, WALK to the PARK or something like that. So gotta do it. So thank you very much, everyone. It is an amazing beginning to our next semester. Feel incredibly happy and positive. Thank you for being with me. Profound gratitude. Thank you very much, everyone.